You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. All right, folks, welcome to another episode of the Dangerous Liberty Podcast, where we know that safety at the expense of liberty is slavery. Hope everybody's having a great Monday. We got a lot to cover. Welcome all you beautiful Americans out there. Look forward to talking with you. We got some great guests. Of course, we got the venerable Marcus J. Allen. He's been such a huge benefit to the channel, and I think a huge benefit to the discussion. So it's been great to have him on. We'll cover some rules and stuff here in a little bit, but it really comes down to make sure you guys are respectful over in the chat. Been busy this weekend. I had a little break, I guess a mental break. Not that kind of mental break, but a mental break from this. I actually got to teach some firearms courses this weekend, also training some great Americans. So I have been playing catch up today, catching up on all the new stuff, new theories, as well as going through all the many emails that you guys are sending. But what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna go ahead and bring on Chris and Marcus. Guys, welcome to the show. And Marcus, how was your weekend, buddy?
I think you're looking at it. Feels like it's just like zipped by because I'm so obsessed with what's going on. I want to get this right, and it's like on one hand I feel ridiculous because I feel like, who am I, from my computer, in San Diego to break this case? How far can I really get? But on the other hand, it's like, looking at what other people are coming up with, I think what we're putting out is actually very valuable. I think we've been ahead of the curve in many ways, and we haven't flip-flopped on a lot of things that other people have, and we've stayed firm, and it's turned out to be right. But now all this coming out with this being a day where he's supposed to show up in court, there's more postponing. Candace has a lot to say as far as official sources, but I'm not sure what she's what she's saying, because the source she's saying is still anonymous, which I find to be very suspicious. We can talk about that. But I just want to get this right. So my weekend's kind of zipped by just obsessing about this case, really.
No, I'm with you, and I agree with you. What I can tell you is that, once again, you and I and everybody else involved in this, and many channels, it's not just us, have covered this and have provided people with more information than any of the news channels by far. So, no, I think what we're doing is important, and hopefully we can continue to do it, and hopefully we can continue to find answers, and we'll see what happens. Chris, welcome, man. Glad to have you
Gary.
on. If you will, just take a minute and just kind of introduce yourself to everybody, and we'll kind of take it from there, man.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Dr. Chris Shiflett. I'm a medically retired Navy SEAL from 2001 to 2017, and went back to school and got my doctorate. I'm a functional medicine practitioner. I work with a lot of veterans, first responders. So owner of Trident Elite Healthcare and CEO of Never Out of the Fight Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization designed to help veterans, first responders, teachers, and others get help that insurance otherwise maybe wouldn't provide, things like that. So I jumped on this pretty early on, just because of the impact of how big that I feel like this situation was. Unfortunately, I don't have the bandwidth to do some of the things that Gary and Marcus are doing, so I appreciate everything that they're doing. But I had some good chats with Gary, and I think I have some information that I can bring of value to. So glad to be here and looking forward to the conversation.
No, man, welcome to the show. And like I said, when you kind of reached out to me and I ended up having a phone call with you, originally I really had no idea exactly what you believed or didn't believe, and I didn't really care. What I wanted to do is kind of just talk to you a little bit and make sure that, at least from what I could gather, and I feel like I have a pretty good BS meter. And you were at least earnest, and I thought you could bring kind of a different perspective to kind of everything going on. Sure. Real quick, folks, we are about 5 minutes in, and people are still showing up, but just kind of laying out some rules for you guys and how this is going to be formatted and go from here. Everyone in the chat, make sure you guys are respectful, real simple. We're all fellow Americans. We deserve respect, and we're going to give it to you. Please give it to us and give it to people out in the chat as well. Don't type in all caps. I'm going to get away from putting you in timeout. I told all my moderators, don't put people in timeout if they type in all caps, but I will tell you that I'm generally going to ignore anything in all caps. No cursing, not because I don't appreciate it. I do. I don't want to give our social media overlords any more reason to censor us. Several of our recent podcasts were after the fact demonetized, which again, I don't care about the money. What matters to me is the fact that if it's demonetized, it is censored hardcore, meaning that it's not in the algorithm and it's basically pigeonholed. You can search some of those things, but it is frustrating to see that when, especially since we're making a lot of effort to be careful about what we show and be sensitive not only to being censored or giving YouTube a reason for it, but also just, there's no reason to show some of this. All of us have seen some of the worst stuff. Yeah, and also, Marcus, Chris, and I are going to be talking for the first part of this, and then we are going to open it up to questions. We want to hear from you. We want to read your comments. We want to take your questions. We will prioritize super chats, but I will try to answer as many of the live chats as possible. And lastly, this is a live, so it's not well polished. Things, you're going to bring up stuff that we weren't prepared to answer. We might have to go searching for some files, so just be patient with us and join in on the unpolished version of what we got going on here. So, Chris, if you will, just kind of a synopsis, lay out kind of your take on things, what you see going well with this investigation, what you think is worth criticizing, and, we'll kind of take it from there.
Man, that's a loaded discussion point, but I'll take it back to the day that it happened. Actually, I had just come back from lunch, and my staff doc had mentioned and brought it up. And so I saw one of the first videos that was uploaded. And immediately I started trying to analyze that, from the military days. But when I first saw it, honestly, there was a moment in there where I thought he might have been shot twice. Or been shot on the right side, because there's a jerk that happens in his movement. But that was like fractions of a second where I thought that was a possibility. And then I listened to all the audio, and then the comments started coming out and eyewitness statements and things like that. And I was just like, man, I don't hear a second shot. Like, I don't, there's just not enough there for me to say that there was a second shot. Then I know people have come out with the theories of timing shots, and being a sniper myself, I'm like, man, if you understand how difficult it is to time those shots, it's not that simple. So, right now I'm going with the single shooter theory that you guys have been talking about for a lot of the same reasons that you guys have already discussed. I think areas where the investigation, in my opinion, are going awry, without trying to put too much blame on the FBI, but I don't understand why we don't have images of the casings at the very least, or the 3 recovered rounds. Like, I think that would answer a lot of ballistic questions, and it would put a lot of, potentially, hopefully, put some of the conspiracies to rest. You've said it before, and I tried looking at this today, but talking about the video footage, we have video footage of him coming off the roof, but no video footage of him on the roof getting into the prone position. I tried to look at the video of him coming off and then compare that to Google Map and try to angulate and see, could the camera actually see that? Is that maybe why they don't really actually have the video of him getting in the prone? I don't really know. But that's another area that I think is confusing, because you do have in the charging documents the timeline. And the timeline says he climbed the stairwell at 12:15, ran across the roof, got in the prone position at 12:23, took the shot at 12:24. So we have those charging documents, but no video evidence to go with that. So one way that I've been trying to analyze this is almost throw away everything that we think might not be true from the FBI, throw away the CCT, and just look at some of the evidence that we have from independent people with their cell phones and stuff like that. Because I mean, the likelihood that all these different videos that those people are in on it, it's pretty minimal. So let's assume that that information is accurate. We have the video where the kid is recording someone on the roof. And he describes in the video that he ran across the roof moments before the shot. We have video, different angles all over in around that whole scene, that whole day, giving us a lot of information, which we may get to here today, talking about the video that we watched, you had me watch earlier today. So I think there's enough information out there to say, I feel that the shot did come from where they said it came from. So, and I'm assuming we're going to get into that a little bit about some of the other speculations. You've already talked about some of them previously from the right side, talking about the exploding mic, all that sort of stuff. So that's where I'm at on it.
Yeah. Marcus, you have anything to add to that?
I think Chris actually did a really good job explaining it from the beginning in a really concise way. And that's one thing I think all of us differ from a lot of the other channels. Being with coming from a tactical background, we know how improbable it is for a second shooter to time their shot and how sloppy that would be with someone as chaotic and unpredictable as Tyler being a patsy, and that being more improbable than trying to figure out how ballistically this is possible, perhaps with an old 30-06 round from his grandpa, to etching the casings, to sloppily putting on the scope. There's just a lot of sloppiness that I would rather dig into and try to figure out how plausibly we could explain this kind of ballistics and this trauma that we see, which is bizarre. It's the hardest thing by far to accept, but it's just easier for me to accept than a second shooter, some professional team that was timing their shot with this unpredictable kid. And so I want to explore that with you guys, and I also want to talk about other voices right now in the space, like Candace Owens, who are coming out with a lot of what I believe and what contradictory, I feel is emotionally charged. I know I'm saying, I don't like that word feel, especially when we're getting into our investigation hats. I want to try to just keep it facts. But, we are humans, and I think I'm not going to deny that I'm going with my instincts, which in a lot of things. And I'm having faith that when I throw that out there, I present my perspective to you guys and in front of the audience, that the truth will be found. I'm not expecting for me to know it all. I'm just giving my instincts and putting my opinion out there with you guys, and I have faith that we're going to get to the truth.
I think it'd be fair to say, like, your interpretation of the evidence that you see so far. But let me ask you this, Marcus, and I think I know the answer to this, given how much you and I have talked offline. If you saw evidence that pointed to something other than the current narrative, how would you react to that? You're not just going to blindly follow the current narrative. And look, here's what I can say for sure. I think we can agree that there isn't enough evidence that we've seen that can definitively say that Tyler Robinson is the shooter, right? I would say that what we can see from the evidence that it points to him, and what I also say is there's a ton of evidence that we can quantify and look at and come to a plausible conclusion that it rules out a lot of these other possibilities. Like, given the evidence, there is, to me, there's no chance that there was, a shooter off to the right. Basically, it's 4 o'clock. That keeps coming up a lot. And they keep moving the goalpost for that too. That's the other thing, and I've seen this time and time again. And once that one is exhausted, now we have a whack-a-mole situation where another one pops up, and another shooter location popped up on my radar today. I was getting sent nonstop, videos, video links, and recommendations from Chris Martinson, which I've been on a show before. I like Chris. I respect Chris. Dr. Martinson is a really good communicator. He's a great guy. I don't know how he goes from saying, hey, this is a 10-degree angle, and, if it missed him, at a 10-degree angle, if we knew exactly where Charlie was, it would go here and would miss his spinal column. Number one, like there's no way to know exactly where Charlie Kirk was underneath that tent. We don't know his exact orientation. Like, again, if a 10-degree angle is going here, literally this changes that angle as it is in relationship to my body. It goes from not hitting my spinal column to hitting my spinal column. A little bit movement off to the left, to the right, changes all those things in ways that I don't think, there's no way to know all the parameters and all the variables that we need to lock it down to definitively say that, hey, there is no way that this shot went into his neck and missed his spinal column. I just, quite frankly, I don't know. And I watched that entire hour-long video. He covered a lot, and I agree with probably 98%. And I agree that it's good to present those findings, but I don't think that there's enough information to come down to that level of certainty. I mean, even by his own diagram in that video, you know, we're talking about missing the spinal column by millimeters. So if we're off down to a degree, an inch, whatever, like up, down, left, right, multiple axes, like you got to know all those things. And then that's one thing, but then to take that and say, okay, no, we think the shooter was over here. Like, I think that's a huge jump. And I'd welcome, and if I'm getting something wrong, I would welcome him to come on and talk about it. I'd love to hear about it. And again, he's a smart guy. He's good. He's a good communicator, and I think he does a great job, but I just disagree with him on that completely.
And let me just answer what you were saying before, which is, would I, if I, counter evidence was presented, would I change? Absolutely. There's no question. In fact, I'm hoping for it. I just don't want my hope for it to get in the way of my reasoning and logic. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's what I see is happening a lot, in my opinion, is most people are hoping so bad for this to be a conspiracy that any slight thing that pops out that could be a life raft to their I'mRight.com kind of opinion, they just go straight there. And I want to resist that as much as possible. But deep down, of course, I want to catch crooks in a lie. I mean, that's a part of that's a part of the inspiration. I mean, to be honest, I do want to figure that out, but I know how dangerous that trap can be if you're too committed to that outcome. Yeah. that it can blind you. So I just don't want to be blinded.
Well, and I just think that people, when we sit here and we say, hey, this, and this, and we're rejecting this idea or that idea because of evidence, I get it. The perception is like, oh, we're just following the narrative. We don't care about the narrative. And Marcus and I haven't talked to Chris yet about this, but look, I'm telling you, I don't believe the government. Like, the government has definitely lied to us. We enumerated them many times, from MK Ultra to different tests that they've done on the American people to, like, going back to JFK. I'm like 85% sure we didn't land on the moon, to be honest with you. There's a lot of things going down that like, I believe 100% that the government regularly lies to us. I don't want to get into the moon landing. That's beside the point.
That would open a can of worms. I think if I could give my opinion, I think it's gray. I think the lies are mixed in with truth. I think we landed on the moon, but they faked video. And that's what they just throw us off.
Oh, dear God.
Constantly.
We're going down rabbit holes.
If you look on the moon with the telescope, there are objects there that reflect light back at us. Someone put them there.
Well,
yeah.
But I do think they fake some video.
Something put something there.
Okay, well, we could really then we'll say this for another day. But I think it's a mix, and that's what leaves us so confused. And I think in a way that's intentional, is they like us all fighting each other on what's truth and what's not, while they plan the next psyop.
Now that you disagree with me on the moon, I'm booting you, kicking you off right now.
I agree with what you just said, Marcus, and I want to tap on what you're talking about, the evidence, the video that you just mentioned a few minutes ago, and I think we're going to get into it here today. But same. I mean, actually, I looked at that video and I looked at some of the analysis and the testing that he did, and I'm like, damn, he actually did a pretty good job with this.
Yeah, he does.
Where I differ is I feel like he makes some definitive statements as, hey, this guy is pointing to this building And I'm like, you're making some inferences there because you don't have the exact angle correct of where that person was standing and what their field of view was. So to me, that's an inference. That's, an assumption that you're making to try to build your case. I just disagree with that. I agree with the bullet situation. I mean, I didn't mention this in the beginning, but I've been hunting since I was 8 years old. So, I've shot all different types of animals. And the bullet situation doesn't make sense to me, but I didn't hang my hat on trying to figure that out because I have seen rounds do things that you would never expect them to do.
Sure.
And so I just said, okay, because I don't have any evidence of the actual round that shot, I have to leave it alone, because until I have that piece of information, it's just too hard to say what actually happened. So I kind of left that alone and started looking at all the other evidence. And then I started taking all the different theories and compiling that stuff the same way FBI, CIA does it. They use analysis of competing hypothesis and profiling and these different things. You start plugging in the data points, and where they cross is where the evidence actually is. So some of the stuff that doesn't make sense, it's still good to listen to, because then you can take that and try to find some sort of triangulation where they cross and then come up with a reasonable conclusion.
Well said.
Yeah. And I do think, look, I think it's really important to go through some of these things that people are saying and debunk them if it makes sense to it. Again, where I always start, somebody like we had Zeb on, we've had other people on. I've talked about other videos and things like that. And it's like, hey, let's look at this objectively and then see where the evidence lies. And it's important to get rid of those because of these mass conclusions that people jump to based on that, based on stuff that clearly is not evident. And I still have emails coming from people like based on information that was put out day 1 or day 2 that has been officially debunked, and that record has been corrected to some extent. Now, whether or not you believe that record and you believe the statements that come out and things like that, there's some of that we have to rely on or reject based on the evidence, right? But there is a lot of evidence available, and we can come to some pretty good conclusions based on that. And the rest of it, we just got to wait for more evidence to get a clearer picture. And we do have new videos coming out. That's one thing. Now, the question is, are they altered? That's another challenge to kind of sort through altogether.
Gary, before I forget, let me throw this out there, because we were talking over the weekend and you guys did a little bit of a video about the ICE shooting.
Yeah.
And I've talked to 2 different, because I live near Dallas and I know guys treating veterans, first responders. I talk to and know a lot of these guys. I know the number 1 man, entry onto the roof, spoke to him, and another guy that was down on the ground today. So.
Right on. What did they say?
Yeah, you're leaving us. We're
leaving you hanging. I didn't know if you wanted to jump into it right away.
I mean, we're here. Let's we're at the bridge. Let's cross it. Give us the scoop, bro.
So number 1 man said for sure, if the guy had actually been staged and ready for them to make entry onto the roof, they would have been dead. And the other guy on the ground that went into the building, he said those bullets not only went through the vehicle, went through the glass and penetrated 2 walls in the building. So he was saying, I mean, if the guy would have just waited until daylight, I don't want to give too much information, but let's just say that they were not prepared for that event. So if he would have waited, he could have actually done the kind of damage he was really trying to do. And there would have been almost not very much for them to defense. The one good scenario is that there was a team planning to do a hit somewhere else. So they basically had 2 rigs all ready to go, and they just shifted gears and went over to that.
Now, was that BORTAC? Those BORTAC teams?
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. I mean, there's nothing beats like on the boots on the ground, and that's cool that you have friends connected to can share that. It's kind of a vulnerable thing to say. I mean, nobody wants to admit that they weren't prepared for something, but I can tell they're being honest, and that's how we improve. So I respect them for that.
Well, and the other thing is looking at the the commonalities between that incident. We talked about Crooks. Now we're talking about Charlie Kirk's situation and the evidence that's come out, right? We've seen those rounds that were marked up in the ICE shooting. So why haven't we seen that in the Charlie Kirk shooting? Okay, that's a solid question. One plausible answer, and again, I'm not trying to give the FBI any leeway here, but that kid shot and killed himself. Like, case closed. Nothing's going to trial. And so it's easier to start putting out information at that point versus a case that's hopefully going to trial. And there may be some, tricks up their sleeve that, they have something that we don't know yet.
There could still be unknown repercussions for something that they could not foresee by putting out the information early as far as the results of the case.
Sure.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. And again, not trying to give them leeway. And I don't think by showing the bullet, you're going to kill your case. I think it would benefit them because I think it would help put to bed some conspiracies, but that's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah. I think the problem with that is I'm not sure that they care. And I do think, and we had a commenter on a couple days ago, one of our not the last live stream, but I think the one before. And I thought it was interesting because I didn't know this. She shared with us the fact that her sister had been murdered and it was a capital murder case. So they were going for the death penalty, and they didn't even share any of the specifics with her family. So they were very tight-lipped, given that it was a death penalty case, and I think they're approaching this in that manner, right? So I don't think we're ever. Well, I hope we will eventually, but at least in the interim, I think they're going to be more cautious because of that. I would like more information. I know everybody else out there would like more information. Comparing and contrasting to what we got from the Butler FBI, right? In the Butler case, we've gotten 10 times more information. Now, you guys can be the arbiters out there that are listening, whether or not they're telling us the truth or telling us a lie. Point is they're talking. We got almost no information, whatever, for weeks coming from Butler. And we still don't know what was going on with Crooks. We still don't know so much about that kid. And they are lying when they say they don't have more information with Crooks. They are lying. There is a digital footprint somewhere. And I am very suspicious of that event. And I do think that there's potentially some entities involved. So take that for what it is. Folks, I know that we already got many super chats over there, and I promise I will get to them. I kind of want to just to keep the conversation going. We will get to the super chats and many of the other comments and things like that.
So Gary, just to maybe touch base with you as far as an agenda for tonight or schedule events. Is there anything that you want to hit today, like that you personally have besides the peak prosperity thing? Do you want to expand on that? Do you want to go further into some of Chris's points and what we disagree with or not? And do we also want to cover what Candace is saying now?
Yeah, one of the main reasons that I wanted to schedule something for today was specifically for Candace Owens. Last week, we kept getting these little dribbles of information, and she basically, at one point, I know in one of her shorts she put out, it's like, I hope I've earned enough trust. I promise you're basically going to get proof. Don't quote me on this, but something along those lines on Monday. So I was hoping that we would have something definitive. I have been trying to keep track of that. I was also creating a video, uploading videos, and getting prepped for this. So I'm definitely behind on that. I don't know if there's something specific that she's put out with receipts, because that's what she was basically saying. And I'll be honest with you. This is what I said last week, and I said it again. I like Candace. I've always liked Candace. I've always seen her as a truth teller. But I feel like she's gone a little rogue lately and has become more sensational. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it's an emotional thing, or I'm misreading it. But I'll be honest with you, I'm going to completely write her off if today we don't have some sort of receipts and we don't have some sort of evidence for what she's claiming. So Marcus, have you seen what has she put out so far today?
To be honest, I've had a busy day as well, and I was listening to the podcast. She put out an hour-long podcast, and I tried my best to ingest as much as possible of it before this turned on. I just couldn't get to it all the way. So I want to at least put it out there to our audience right now. I'm sure there are people somewhere in our audience that have watched the full podcast. So I want you to vigorously and attack my my thoughts and my synopsis on what she's saying. And if I'm wrong and I missed anything, please let me know immediately. I will really appreciate that. So I'll just say, preface with that. I have watched a good amount, and I have noted some timestamps if we want to jump around to some points where I have some criticism for her and questions, and we can, I can play those if you haven't seen them and you want to watch them together. I have like 5 timestamps, in the first half of her program that I have some issues with. So basically, she hasn't come forward and been definitive about this source. She's saying, left you on a cliffhanger, and I didn't mean to, but the source I vetted, and basically they're saying he didn't do it, and now their family's saying he didn't do it. And I'm like, of course their family's saying he didn't do it. Have you ever dealt with a criminal who's facing the death penalty? They'll say anything. So of course that's the extent of your source. If I'm wrong, if I'm missing something, please let me know. But that's all I'm hearing is she's saying, I have a source, I vetted, they're saying what I agree with. We both went to I'mRight.com and both found the same thing, and now he's my best friend. And I'm like, come on, that cannot be the extent of what we've been waiting for.
All right, so it sounds like we'll kind of dissect what she actually is saying today and maybe cover it tomorrow or another day or something like that. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some more information out of it. I'm looking at today's podcast on YouTube, and it's 56 minutes long, and there's I don't think it's worth going through tonight. I am going to throw up this super chat because it's relevant to what we're discussing. It says Dr. Martin's theory about the angle of entry 10 degrees versus 20 degrees also implies that the angle need to be more steep for it to enter the thoracic cavity, as there was no visible exit wound. That's fine. I understand that. I still have a problem with him coming up with such specific angles. And then the other thing too, I was looking at the place where he's saying the shooter actually is. And matter of fact, I'll just share my screen real quick. I may have to remove this for a second, but I'll show you guys where he's saying that the shooter actually was. So here we are. Everybody is going to be, we can see it right here. This was Charlie's location. Basically what he was saying, I didn't mean to grab it. Basically what he is saying is from this perch right here. This is where he's saying somewhere around in here through these trees. Now, I don't know what the angle of this actually is, because my concern with this, and there is drone footage, I'm not 100% convinced. There could be. I'm not 100% convinced that there was a line of sight, because this is a steeper angle. And I'm concerned that the tent would actually obscure Charlie's location. Again, this is a big angle deviation from what we're seeing to begin with. And I'm not 100% convinced that this even makes sense for a lot of reasons. What I do think that it is illogical to jump from, hey, the angle's slightly off based on my calculations, that I don't even, again, we don't know exactly where Charlie Kirk was. We don't know what orientation he was. What I can tell you too, and I showed in my video, is like even the tent itself wasn't completely square. It wasn't centered in this space. We don't know where his chair was oriented degrees wise in relationship to the shooter and all those other things. So I think there's some significant challenges with what he's saying just from that aspect. So I don't know. Chris, I know you said you had some other things that you kind of wanted to go over that you went through, right?
So yeah, you have my screen pulled up here.
Yep.
I'll try to get to that image real quick, because it's already been covered in Andrew Bartholomew's video. Let me go get to it. So this is basically the rooftop that he's talking about right here. And so my thought is, you got all these kids standing over here on this platform down here.
Yeah.
right? And then this is looking, back towards Charlie this way. You got all these people right here, and you're telling me that none of them could see up here if there's a shooter up there, especially if he were to get up and take off running. Because if you go back to your Google Earth view, there's not a lot of levels up here. So this is basically what you see, what you get right here. And there's no, at least from what I could tell, but only from Google Earth, it'd be cool if somebody knew how easy is it to access this roof versus the other roof. I will say off in the distance over here, there is a parking garage. So if he could transfer from one roof to that parking garage, he might have a getaway point. But how do you not get seen right here?
Well, and from that, number one, that's significantly closer. I'm going to remove this and add my thing back here. That is significantly closer. Let's pull out a ruler here and check that out. So it's basically from here to right there. Now we're 140 feet. We're talking 50 yards. This is 50 yards. Like a gunshot from this location would be so clear, and it's not nearly as obscure because, again, from his location, Charlie's location, back to the original, where Tyler's supposed location is, that is, at least from there, we have audio and a bit of visual kind of obfuscation through here, right? So you're shooting through trees, all these other things. If we're saying that basically that this is a professional shooter, which I think is kind of the inference here, like that really causes some problems. Let me make sure that this is right. So right there. So it's 218 feet. I don't know why. I guess it's because I had it at an angle. But either way, we're basically talking about, 75, 80 yards here. And to me, that's a problem because that is a really short distance, and all of these people would immediately look up here. Like the report of that gun would be so much louder. Again, it gets a little slippery when people start talking about, that I guess again, now we're dealing with probably the answer would be, hey, it's suppressed, and Tyler's the patsy that has the synchronized, shot that is going to be a distraction. I don't know where to go with that, because that's the problem with these theories is another one pops up, and what they've done is they've kind of, all right, we're gonna make this a little bit more weird and come up with these theories, additional theories on top. Not only do we require a second shooter, we require a second shooter that has a suppressed weapon that is shooting from a different trajectory, and we just make it more and more and more complicated. The more complicated it becomes, the more improbable it becomes.
And only one round hit him. So which shooter hit him? The patsy or the pro?
Well, the pro.
So if the pro hit him, then the crack to bang that we can hear on multiple videos that measures out to, pretty, obviously it has a margin of error, but it's way further out than all these close by locations that the other people are saying. It's 90 meters is from the one that we did last time, put us right on the alleged location that is aligned with the official story. So there's that round and that sound signature and those physics, we can't negate that.
Yeah.
Well, and I agree with you. That crack to bang, you wouldn't have that at an 50, 60, 80 yards, whatever it is. You wouldn't have that same, because it would be muffled over by the initial crack. But also, again, I reference Andrew Bartholomew's video. It's an hour and 9 minutes. He walks all around that campus. He was standing right there with the best audio that we've heard.
Yeah.
And none of them look up right there where the shooter would have been.
Yeah. Yeah, and I pointed that.
Even if it was suppressed.
Exactly. I pointed that. Well, and that's the problem is most people don't really understand what a suppressed shot is. I played a video a couple shows ago, I'll say that, where I was shooting suppressed. I showed people what that looked like, what that sounded like. It's not as quiet as you think, folks, and most people would hear that. So It's not like the movies. It doesn't go, psst, that's just not how it works. You got anything else on, you got anything else on that, Chris, that you wanted to hit personally?
As far as that angle and all that, no. I think maybe I had another video down here. I took a screenshot of this from Andrew Bartholomew's video because you can kind of see that the tent is backed up right next to this pillar, and it's slightly off to the right if you're from Charlie's position.
Yeah.
Just to kind of gauge roughly against that backdrop, where was he sitting? And I agree with you. I'm not 100% sure if the line of sight works out. I'm not, it's too hard to say.
And are just for me to be clear to understand what people's counter theory is, or what Chris's theory is if there's a second shooter, then that shot that we hear, and they're saying the second shooter was closer and shooting some suppressed weapon that had little to no sound signature, or would have been completely concealed. Was that live shot? Was that a blank? Do they think that was a blank?
Well, he never actually explains that portion in the video.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't cover that at all.
I just think it's crazy that you can propose something so crazy and then not handle all the tertiary, basically issues that pop out with that, which is if you're proposing a second shooter, then what we hear, that loud crack, do they think that's a blank that the patsy shot, that was unaware they were shooting a blank or something? That it's like, it sounds crazy just saying it, but that's what you're proposing, is it not? Am I missing something?
That's pretty close to what he's saying. And again, there's a lot of detail that's left out of that, unfortunately. But
yeah, you create so many more questions than answers by just proposing, like just throwing out there. And that's what I hate, is people just throw out their second shooter. That explains everything. It really doesn't. It's more complicated than it is trying to figure out how this official story could possibly happen. And that's what I need to hear, that counter. I need people to extrapolate it out. If you're proposing a second shooter, okay, then the patsy, what did he shoot? A blank? Or did he shoot a live round too? And did the professional just take a gamble that he was going to miss his shot, and that the professional shot was going to be the only one that hit, so that that Charlie only had one round in the forensics report that went through him, and then at a different angle than the patsy. Like you were saying in the beginning, Gary, is like, not only that, they're also at completely off axis, which would be so easy to debunk in a forensics, in an immediate first glance of like, wait a second, these two rounds came at completely different areas. But people are just throwing out second shooter, but nobody has given me that kind of extrapolating out to make sense of what that would actually entail. Well,
when you say, hey, this is going to create a contradictory trajectory, the follow-on to that, and this is, again, one of those slippery slopes and just a kind of a slippery fill for this, is now, well, it's the government. They're the ones investigating it, so they're going to not mention that or bring that up at all. We have a government patsy, so everyone, ultimately, and this is one of the problems with Butler, is like, you got to implicate all the local police, or at least most of them. You got to implicate anybody that sees the body that doesn't immediately see some, weird anomalies that don't line up with what's being told. And again, the conspiracy just gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and to where, like, there is, no matter what you present, there's an answer for that evidence with something else that there's no evidence for. And that's the challenge with it. And we can see right here on this is the overhead that Dr. Chris Martin actually had in his video. We can see that the tent is actually further to the right than to the left. We also see that it's not squared there.
Right.
But what we don't see is, we don't see the exact angle. How do we know? We don't even know to any real degree of certainty, even from the videos that we see, we don't know in relation to that tent or relation to the wall, how squared up was the table? How squared up was this chair? So that's part of the issue here.
Hey, Gary,
yeah.
Just check me on this, because I'm just thinking about this now, so I could be off.
Yeah.
But just because it's a 10-degree angle doesn't mean the round isn't arching upward to deflect. It's getting some help from gravity because it's going downward. but it's not, it's not straight down. It's still 10%, which is gradual, which means there's still an arc to the round, which means at the apex of the round's trajectory, which would be about 75% of the way there, from that point to Charlie would be slightly more of a significant angle than 10 degrees, right? Because the round, so the 10 degrees that you did is exactly, elevation, direct line of sight, but the round is also arching. So that's it's coming down at a.
So this is what he's talking about, 10 degrees. Basically, what he's saying is that he needs additional elevation and on so that it goes vertically, so that it goes deeper inside of his body, so it's going through more mass, which would potentially explain no exit wound.
Well, so that's what I'm trying to propose. Is I think 10 degrees is the line of sight angle from Charlie to the alleged shooter position, which you kind of confirmed, right?
It's about 9 degrees. So we'll just say between, I've heard other people say 7 degrees. I don't know where they get that number. Mine was about 9.2 degrees elevation-wise.
Mine was 9.5 when I calculated it.
There you go.
Okay,
so it's somewhere around 9 to 10 degrees. What he's specifically saying here, just so we're not conflating the two, it just so happens that the horizontal angle from the shooter as he calculated it, and I'd like to see that math and where he put Charlie specifically, 10 degrees horizontally, as we see on this protractor. Do you see what I'm talking about? So this is what he's talking about. And so he's saying, hey, at this degree, from where he shot, forget about vertically, just horizontally, in relation to the shooter to Charlie, this is what we would see. But look at this. Even the trajectory here potentially hits bone, like 1 millimeter left or right. And like his
I see what you're saying.
There's no way to calculate. He does not have the information. You would literally need a land surveyor out there with the exact point of where he was. I haven't even heard whether we're talking about Tyler's left-handed or right-handed. Just the fact that he's shooting left-handed or right-handed could change the horizontal angle ever so slightly. And this is what we're talking about. He's saying, hey, this is at this horizontal angle, it's going to go through nothing, but it's going to have a pass through. It's never going to hit bone.
I see your point.
And again, this is on the assumption that we have this cross section of neck that is perfectly squared up and looking 0 degrees. The moment that he twists his shoulders left or right or changes anything, right? If he looks over here, that changes. If he looks over here, that changes. If he scoots over a little bit, that changes. Like, I don't know how we get this level of precision in measuring from what he knows. He knows what we know. He has Google Earth. Google Earth is plus or minus a meter. Like,
this is too precise to claim something like this.
Can I jump in on that?
Real quick, Chris. And then to go from this imprecise measurement to conclude that there is a second shooter at a second location, completely novel theory. Not one person has come out and said, hey, I think there was a shooter up on that roof. Like, this is completely new. Like, that is a huge leap. And it's actually a little, I would love Dr. Martin to come on and maybe he knows something that we don't and we're not considering, and I want to be completely fair to him and not mischaracterize what he's saying. So, there's that. Go ahead,
Gotcha.
Chris. Sorry.
Yeah, so in the video, he does say how he arrived at that, which is he took the Google Map angle, and then he is making an assumption that the table was squared and that Charlie was looking basically straight on. So that's where, and then he drops a protractor from that point and says, based off of the angle from Google Map, that's how he gets the 10 degrees. But if one thing that has not been talked about, and again, I'm just throwing it out as a possibility. If you could switch to my screen, I'll show this real quick. You see it up there?
Yep.
So here's one thing that is being potentially missed and potentially could have happened. But let me preface this by saying the 30-06 should have went through any of these bones, period. That's what I believe. But
yeah, I agree.
The first rib, which pretty much everybody has one of those, does come up higher in the back than it does in the front. So it actually elevates above the clavicle. So potentially it could have hit. So in his video, he said it would have clipped just barely the transverse process. Well, what if it clipped their first rib that stood out beyond that? The other thing we don't know is, in rare instances, people have cervical ribs, which is another bone on top of the rib above that. So what if it hit that? I mean, again, there's just more information we don't know. And to your point, he's making assumption about evidence he doesn't have.
Or at least not with a degree of precision that he can come to these conclusions.
Right.
I mean, like I said, anything that we're pulling off Google Earth is an approximation. It's plus or minus a yard, or probably even more. I mean, GPS in general is plus or minus a yard. So if that's what we're dealing with, man, you know, we're not talking about, and that's what he's saying from his own diagrams. We're talking about down to the millimeter of whether or not that bullet cleared his spine or had a pass through. And I just don't know how he can say with any sort of confidence that even is close to correct. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But so you're talking about vertical. Is it worth having a conversation about? I mean, you're talking about horizontal. Is it worth having a conversation about vertical angle as well, or is that a separate, you know, from his theory or hypothesis?
I don't think it's relevant to his theory. Ultimately, that is the foundation of everything. We could say, hey, of course, every trajectory has a parabolic arc, right? Anything past like 5 yards, we're going to have a parabolic arc that we're moving. All right, that's a fact. So there is going to be more of a downward angle, but again, we have, I bet between 0 and 140 yards, we're probably talking about 10 inches, 12 inches maybe of an apex. So I don't know. We can look at that, but I don't think that is super relevant to his argument specifically.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I got your. Was there another aspect to his? Does he have another argument towards the end? He kind of, like, one thing that, I mean, just being honest, rubbed me the wrong way, is in his title he says solved. And that's a very bold thing to say, is solved. What did you solve? Because at the end of the video, there's more questions than we have.
I'm going to give him a complete pass on that. And here's the thing, is like YouTube, if you're not doing a little bit of clickbait and I try to avoid it, but it's just a fact. If you're not going to put a little bit of clickbait up there, and many people do it, your video is not going to get seen. And people put there's a lot of production value that went into he has an hour-long video, he has an entire team. They put probably 3, 4, 5 days of several people putting that video together, if not more. And it's important for a channel like his to get views. Like, they don't exist without the views. So I'm going to give him a complete pass on the solve portion. What I'm not willing to give him a pass on, or I would just like an explanation on, is how do you so definitively come up with, hey, this other shooter? Because we still, I even with his explanation of how he came up with that other shooter, like, we're talking about a very, very different trajectory with a completely different angle. You know, even when we look at what he was proposing and we look at this, you know, to come way over here and somehow, I don't know, imply that you know exactly the XYZ position of Charlie in his neck and the orientation angularly, like, that doesn't make sense to me. I have a hard time grasping that. Like, how did you?
He also admits in his video that he's working backwards. He says that basically the ballistics don't work out in his mind, and so he created a theory where the ballistics do work out. And so based on those degrees, based on that angulation, it could work out in terms of the ballistic and entry and all that stuff, and explain that part of it. It just doesn't explain the whole picture, and it completely ignores things that we've talked about, crack bang. It ignores people on that railway right there that would have, you know, again, even suppressed would have heard that. It just ignores other things that we do know.
Yeah.
Well said.
No, I agree with that. Chris, did you have anything else that you wanted to kind of address on that?
The only other thing in this video specifically that I would make an argument against, you and I talked about this earlier, is the decorticate posturing.
Yeah.
And let's see.
Oh, I'd like to know your opinion on that, being a doctor and a chiropractor, and you have way more knowledge than me as far as the body's reaction to different nerve damage and things like that. So I would really be curious to know about your position on the decorticate posturing, Chris.
Versus decelerate posturing, all of which I had no idea those two words existed until 3 weeks ago.
So, I mean, there's, it talks about it a little bit right here, but specifically, you got to have, one of the things that we don't have in decorticate posturing in the case of Charlie is extension of the legs. We have the video, we see that his knees are still bent at 90 degrees. And even in Dr. Martin's video, he shows the definition of decorticate posturing. And by definition, you have to have extension of the legs, which we don't see. The one thing that will happen absolutely every single time is startled defensive flexion. Just whenever you impact a muscle with that much velocity, you activate the Golgi tendon, you activate the muscle receptors, and you get a reflexive response with that. I'm not saying it's not decorticate. I'm not saying it didn't hit the spinal cord. But again, if we go to definition, decorticate posturing, you have to hit the midbrain. But look how, the brainstem or the midbrain, which is way up here, look how high up it is. It's nowhere near the entry.
Question. Does it have to hit directly, or can it be concussive, like getting knocked out?
Or even what we talked about, Chris. I actually think that the hydrostatic shock wave would actually, again, all we're doing is pushing fluids, and they're going to take the path of least resistance. So we've already passed through most likely the carotid artery and the jugular vein. That alone, that blood that's in those tubes are now going to be moving, 2,400 feet per second, whatever it was that they hit them with, back into the brain and potentially cause massive brain damage just through the hydrostatic shock wave, as well as spinal column and everything else. I mean, that's some pretty sensitive materials. That's why God gave us armor around all those things, to protect us from back in the day when we used to hit each other with sticks and stones.
And I've seen fighters and things, when they get hit, their legs go stiff and arms go stiff, and they just, getting caught on the chin. Right? Is that not the same, Chris?
So what I have right here on the screen are these events that could cause that decorticate posturing. So large, you can read those: hemispheric stroke, intracerebral hemorrhage, subedural epidural hematoma, mass effect tumor. So there are a major hypoxic ischemic event, which in this case, this injury to the carotid and jugular vein was pretty damn close in my approximation. So going back to what we were talking about earlier, Gary, could it be possible? So I tried to do a little bit of research. And one of the things that Dr. Martin talks about in his video is the timing, 1/10 of a second. And could we get that from just the concussion or the cavity, if you will, from the round? Could you get that reaction? And based on stuff that I have found, not in that amount of time. And so it's too hard to say. It's too hard to, I don't want to say it's not, I don't want to say it's impossible. I'm just saying when I looked at events, we have a unilateral carotid jugular hit. That would not be enough to create, if we're going with hypoxia ischemia, that would not be enough in and of itself, because you have the whole other side, which is designed to pump blood to the brain in the event that there's damage to the other side. So I don't think it's enough to cause that in and of itself. And then, we look at the brachial plexus. That was definitely hit. The brachial plexus comes out right there. That was definitely hit. Could the damage from that be enough information to the brain to cause that type of decorticate posturing? And I say no. So cervical spinal cord, no, it's just not, there's not enough there because you don't get enough CSF overpressure by just hitting the spinal cord itself. It has to be higher up, or it has to be a massive, hyposchemic or ischemic event, the things that we looked at above. That's my thoughts on it.
So a possible deflection off possible body armor up into the brain cavity, cranial cavity would potentially cause that, right?
Sure.
Let me ask you this. Are there any studies where they've identified what decorticate posturing looks like if they're sitting in a chair? Would that be different? And, I guess that's kind of what seems a little anomalous about
his knees do snap together, like within like one frame. They go from outward to in. They don't extend, but they collapse. So is that different or separate, or it's
different? By definition, if you're going to use the medical definition. Now here's another thing I will say. Nothing is 100%. Even when we give diagnoses, there is not a single person that matches that diagnosis and all the checklists that go along with it every single time. It's just not, there is no such thing as 100%. So could his body have done something different, but it still impacted the brainstem? Yep, could have. So I'm not going to say again that it didn't happen and that's not decorticate posture. I'm not saying that. But I am just saying definitively, and I did have a video on this, but I couldn't put it together, a hunting video with a shot and talking about, Marcus, what you just said, the legs coming in. If you watch an animal being shot, that same thing, they collapse in like this, which is kind of what happened to Charlie. He kind of collapsed in like this, sort of. I mean, I'm over exaggerating a little bit, but that's a reflex response to the amount of energy,
trauma,
the instant nature of it. That's just,
gotcha.
There's not enough there for me to say that is 100% decorticate. And then if you take that a step further, that's what they're using as their narrative to say he was definitely shot right here. That's the narrative. So if you take that away, then that narrative falls to pieces too. I
see. So, besides what would be the other opposite end, or just a different diagnosis? Like, there's other. I forget the pronunciation,
Deceberate posture.
Yeah. What is there another explanation that matches more closely, Chris?
No, because so we talked about this earlier too. But in deceberate, the arms go the opposite way. So you still have leg extension, but you have arm extension, and you have that going down. So deceberate doesn't fit either.
Does anything fit from your experience? Is there something? Is there a type of diagnosis that we haven't heard of or thought of yet?
I mean, as far as like if you want to classify it into a single definition, to me, it's more representative of a reflex arc. What would happen when the stretch on the Golgi tendon and the muscle receptors are activated instantly like that? You have a startle reflex that happens. I mean, it didn't even have to be a gunshot. It could have been a sledgehammer to the chest. You would have gotten that defensive like posturing that would happen. And again, I go back to anybody that's watched any number of videos of people getting shot, animals being shot, any of those different things, they all have that reflex thing. They don't immediately go into decorticate even. Well, I mean, if you do a high shoulder shot on a deer, they pretty much just fall. But
well, let me ask you this, Chris, because the argument that I've heard against that is that the difference between that startle response that we see is that he does look like he curls his wrist in.
His microphone kind of falls out of his hand, like almost like he has, it's involuntary. He has no more control.
And the other thing that I would propose to you is that we do see fighters when they're knocked out do something very similar to a decorticate posturing, right? Where we don't have direct trauma. We have a freaking, they're clocked to the chin and they go down, legs are stiff. We see the arms go up. I mean, watching UFC fights, that definitely happens.
I agree with you.
How do we reconcile that from, a direct take, something that's definitely saying, hey, it takes a direct hit to the midbrain?
Well, I guess the closest I could get to that, if you're talking about, let me see, let me go back up to this image just so I can look at it myself.
Sure.
But if you're talking about a jaw hit right here, you're sending, and I mean, some of these fighters, man, the foot pounds that they're punching with is pretty massive. And look right where the midbrain, the pons, look right where the brainstem is. Because here's the brainstem. All of this is the brainstem, midbrain, pons, medulla. Yeah. So you're in the zone of, the brainstem at that point. And again, decorticate posturing, by definition, brainstem is, impacted. So could there be a punch to the jaw right here that causes enough force or disruption within the brainstem that causes decorticate posturing? I would argue yes.
Could we argue that an internal hydrostatic shock wave would cause as much or more than an external punch?
And that cavitation, when we see that one frame where his entire neck and upper
head,
body is completely like double in size.
Sure.
That energy's got to go somewhere. And if it just, like a concussion to the brain, it could, in theory, to me, that's the most, that's what makes sense to me at this moment. Now, obviously, I'm taking into account what you're saying, Chris, because you have a way better ability to articulate these things. But just comparing to, like Gary was saying, from fighters getting hit, and then Charlie, and then just a concussive hit to the head, upper shoulder area, it seems to make sense to me.
I guess
I think, to your point, is if we're going under the assumption that the round did not exit, which is based on what we have so far, we have to go off of that, then that means the energy from that round was dumped into Charlie versus a through and through where energy is left with the bullet and only some of the energy is dissipated throughout the body. If we're assuming that the round dumped into Charlie, then that means 2,000 plus foot-pounds of energy was dumped into Charlie. When you have that much energy dumped into the neck, do I think it's possible that you got, just from the cavitation and the shockwave from that, decorticate posturing? I think it's possible. I mean, the short answer is I don't know. I mean, but I think it's possible.
I guess your professional opinion on this is we're not seeing something classic decorticate or decelerate. I mean, I think that's kind of what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying, is it's not classic, but it doesn't mean it doesn't fall under that, because I go back to my original analogy of anything in the medical field, diagnoses, whatever, there is an accepted range.
Sure.
So
there's always people out there that are physiologically abnormal and have different responses. I mean, it's just a fact. No, I find that whole discussion pretty interesting. And I will say, like, I think there has, going back to that 2,000 pounds of energy, I don't see 2,000. I think we both agree if there was a full 2,000 pounds of energy, we would definitely see a exit wound.
Sure. I agree with that.
And I don't know, I don't think what we're seeing is 2,000 pounds of energy. So to me, it's but he also looks like he's hit with a dump truck, which is why I keep going back to the body armor. Either some of that energy was absorbed externally, and then we have a different ballistics taking place because of that, or we have to come up with an explanation as to why we have a significantly less amount of energy hitting Charlie, and so far I haven't found one. Now, what I will say is, again, as I talked about, I have thousands of dollars worth of ammo, 30-06, different types from low recoil to different rounds, hunting rounds, soft tip rounds. We have a gentleman sending me 30-06 rounds from the 1960s. I really appreciate that. I believe his name is Dave. Awesome. So people are supporting us on that, and we're definitely going to be doing some testing to figure out if the idea that a man hit in the neck with a 30-06 round. I don't think he was hit with a full force of 2,000 pounds. Now, I will tell you, even on some of these low recoil rounds that I do think would make sense, especially if it's, what's Tyler's grandfather taking, or whomever, right? If somebody's going out to shoot, I could see 30-06 rounds, somebody keeping on hand low recoil rounds. But even then, we're still talking about based on theirs, and we're going to do some chronograph, and we're going to do our own math and figure it out. But even on what's on the box, we're looking at 1,700 foot-pounds at 140 yards. So there's a lot of things there. That is the crux of this matter. That is the greatest anomaly. That is the most inexplicable thing that it's just really hard to understand. Now, somebody was telling me the other day that Martin Luther King was actually shot with a 30-06 round, and there was no exit wound. That is true. The problem with that is, or the difference here, is that Martin Luther King was actually hit in the mandible. And I looked it up, like the mandible's like 10 times more dense than your vertebrae. So that might make sense. Like that's a pretty big chunk of bone up there, and it's attached to a lot of energy absorbing muscle and all the other stuff. So I could sort of buy that, but hitting a man in the neck and not seeing a exit, and that's hard to explain.
Yes, it is. It's like that's the thing that I'm most stuck up on, and I'm willing to hear any theory. It just the second shooter theory. I need people to, if they're going to come with that as their explanation for this, to me, I need a really, really good extrapolation of that to make that make sense. We need evidence, and especially people saying that without a tactical background who don't understand the implausibility of pulling that off in a professional way in such a chaotic situation where the variables are just maximally chaotic in an event with an unstable 22-year-old kid who I guess thinks he's or has been brainwashed into thinking he has a real round. Maybe he does. Like all that, those things are like, it's fairyland to me until someone can explain it to me in a way that makes sense. I'd rather talk about how can this official story make sense? Because if the official story is false, and we rule out that the second shooter theory is the most implausible theory to explain this, and that Tyler or somebody did it with a rifle like that's shown, whether it's the rifle that's shown or not, I think we can get somewhere. In my opinion, this is the thing worth investigating because it's the thing that's most likely. And I just don't understand why they would lie about the 30-06 and the rifle and Tyler. And then I want to tear apart that because that to me is more interesting and more plausible than the second shooter theory. You know what I mean?
That's the other thing too. Like if we did have a second shooter, right? If we were planning this, number one, I think we'd all agree here. Like if we were professionally going to take out Charlie and we wanted to create a patsy and all this other stuff, we wouldn't do it at an event like this where we have almost no control over the environment. It'd be much easier to find out where he lives and wait till, his security's not around, make an easy getaway. Like there's 1,000 different easier ways to do this. But then on top of that, we're going to do this with a 30-06 round allegedly, but then we're actually going to shoot him with 300 black or 5.56 or you name it, a 380 palm gun or 32.
It falls apart so fast.
Like none of that, and then say we hit him with a 30-06, but we're going to shoot him with a palm gun or some of these other guns that would not display the energy displacement that we see. That is the problem. Is we clearly see a highly energetic event that cannot be explained by getting shot in the back, can't be explained by getting shot with an iPhone gun or a palm gun or a camera gun or laser beams and dual drones flying up in choreographed loiter environments. Like it just doesn't, none of that stuff makes sense.
So the question is, I mean, if we extrapolate that and say, okay, second shooter theory's highly implausible. It's highly implausible that a 30-06 direct hit to the neck did this. Then is there any middle explanation that we have amongst the three of us that can fit? And if not, why would they lie about the rifle and the 30-06? What would that benefit them in the story? And if what I'm saying is it doesn't make sense of
Chris, you're in the hot seat. You answer that.
I think the benefit of lying about it, if you're going to go with the conspiracy theory to begin with, is deception and confusion. So once you lie about it and then you create these narratives and then you have guys like us talking about it and trying to pick apart things, well, then that creates confusion. So now we have all these different theories. We have people looking at all these different theories, and maybe that's giving them a step to move towards their next play. So from a conspiracy perspective, that's why you would do it. I mean, that's how we do
psychological operations.
Exactly. That's how we
denial
take over,
and deception operations.
That's how we take over other countries. That's how we create chaos. The CIA has been doing that for years. So,
but part of that is to be, number one, have a cover for status and a cover for action, right? So,
yeah, absolutely.
Like, absolutely, there are ways to create chaos and be deceptive and all those other things, right? But at the same time, like, you don't want to show your hand. Like,
yeah,
I have a hard time following that path of where that goal would lead us.
But this is a more plausible, like what Chris is saying to me is more interesting, and I think to me makes more sense than these other theories. Like that to me is more is the most plausible thing than second shooter or handguns and, like you're saying, all the explosive mics and stuff like that.
What specifically about what he said?
Denial and deception is the fact that there is an incentive, like you said, like the saying, show me the incentive, I'll show you what the human does, or I forget the saying. Sure. There is an incentive for chaos, confusion, internal conflict, hysteria. It's like an enemy that is separated and dispersed and not united is easiest to manipulate, is easiest to take over. And so there is absolutely, there's every incentive in the world to keep us, the public, the masses, just in a state of confusion. It's easiest to manipulate somebody, a population or an individual who is confused, right? That's fair to say, I think.
I don't
sure.
I don't
and then if you're going to go down that rabbit hole, then you have to look at who is creating the deception and why. And we have some theories, right? Israel. We've had people mention, even on the right, because the Republicans blocked the vote on the Epstein files, which I dug into that. And what you're being told is not 100% how it happened. There was that incident that people were talking about, the plane that took off nearby that lost radar. And so, you got to go down those rabbit holes and then start saying, okay, if deception is what they're after, who and why, and then start looking at all the pieces of information and trying to figure out where they intersect.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
I don't disagree with that. We have any other things to cover on this? My goal was to get to questions at 1 hour in, but
take the lead, Gary. I mean,
Chris,
I think
you got any other comments? Or
the only thing I wanted to say, and I hope we can put it to bed, at least amongst the three of us, I think, is, you don't have to pull that up, is with the palm gun, a carbine style, any of those rounds. I think Dr. Martin actually did a pretty good job talking about that in his video,
he
and
did.
why those things shouldn't be considered. And so I think we can leave that alone personally.
I agree.
I agree.
All right, so let's get to some super chats, and we'll kind of go around the horn with these. I'll hit these. These are not really comments, or just some comments, but Heidi Wolf, thank you very much. Thank you, and God bless. Here's the first comment. Real question. Weird theory. What if Grandpa's rifle had a messed up barrel? What if the round tumbled, reducing velocity, and hit the necklace, which caused the neck hit at a lower impact and caused no exit wound? We talked about this at length the other day. If you're going to have a round tumble, it is going to do so almost immediately upon exit. So if we have a unstabilized round that's tumbling, the idea that it would still hit a target 140 yards away, I'm not saying it's completely impossible, but it sure is super, super improbable. I just don't see how that happens. Chris, you got any comment on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say about Grandpa's gun. Has there been has grandpa or any of the family come out and said anything about, no, that's not my gun, or no, that's not accurate? I don't believe there has been, to my knowledge.
There's been there was the day that he got caught where the family was talking, and then all of a sudden it's been, crickets ever since. So
Okay.
that there is not a peep, and the social media has been wiped from the mom, from the family members, the boyfriends, and grandpa as well.
And that's going to be a joint effort from the prosecution and the defense. I mean, that's just going to happen, I think. Marcus, you take this one. And KMT,
thanks for your service, guys. Wow, that's amazing, man. Thank you. Thanks for your service, guys, to the country and on this event. This is the most. This is the most it will let me give. Wow. My theory is what I said the other night. Bullet didn't exit because of back armor. Exited body, but not his shirt. On the front, possible bullet hit from armor, bullet fragged, and half went up and into the neck. Other half went through body and stopped at vest. You and Gary will definitely be best friends there. I mean, that's his. I mean, a part of me wants Gary to be right after all this, just because of how convicted he's been since the very beginning, and rightfully so. It makes sense. Like, it's a very, very logical and great way to solve everything, connects everything. Me personally, I can't see it. I just believe I would be able to see clearly the body armor in some image in some way, and I can't. So I'm in the camp still of trying to figure this out and explain it without the body armor. But Gary has a lot of tests and experiments and content coming up to further give more data on his point, which I'm looking forward to.
Yep, and not just body armor, a whole lot of different aspects of the ballistics on this. Chris, take that one.
There's no proof that Tyler was ever on the campus.
That's a big statement.
That's something that Candace Owens has come out and said as well. From the CCTV stuff, I don't know. And then you're talking about the TMZ videos that were caught from the house cameras and things like that. And at least the initial narrative from the people that knew him is they felt like that was him. Can we say it with 100% certainty? No, I don't think so, but I think it's pretty reasonable based on the information that we do have.
Agree. When are you going to show more of your testing? We got a lot more coming. I'm still waiting on a bunch of supplies coming in. I have done some initial tests on some level 3A body armor that I showed you guys the other night. We got a lot more coming.
Gary, thanks for doing what you're doing. Your podcast has become the highlight of my day the past 2 weeks. Not kidding. I'm Polish. Charlie was 1/4 Polish. This tragedy hurt me deeply. Well, that's more for Gary. But
right.
Gary, do you want to say something about that?
No, look, I appreciate that. It means a lot to me. You know, the biggest thing that this is exhausting, and it's super exhausting. And I've lost a lot of sleep over all this for many different reasons, right? But what I will say is what I do find very inspirational is the comments that I see were like, hey, you know, like this, like, hey, you guys have helped me. And I think that's where I started, right? I was like shockingly affected by this. I feel like I'm a pretty, I don't know, like, you know, I've been to the military, I've lost friends, I've seen a lot of horrible things. I felt like I was like, if you'd have told me this happened, I'd been like, oh yeah, you know, it'd be another day, and I'd be like sad. But this, you know, there was an emotional response without a doubt. And so it was kind of therapeutic for me, and I'm glad to see that other people are getting benefit out of it. That, you know, that makes it worth it. Chris.
Why haven't they released testing on whether or not the gun had residue on it from just being shot?
That's going to be important evidence with that. Like, they're not going to. I don't know what to say. That's you.
Curious if any of you are familiar with George Webb, investigative journalist. Would love to see you pick his mind. I heard the name. Can you remind me, Gary? I think you know who he is.
Yeah. So George Webb is on Twitter. I've actually talked to him on the phone during Butler. I would love to have him on. I'd love to hear his, like, we definitely have some divergent views on Butler. I assume that we probably have some pretty significant divergent views on this incident, but I would love to hear him out, and I would love to share his opinions with other people, because I think that's how we decide what's true and what's not true and what makes sense and what's not. Why are so many of the belief that feds are lying? I'm not American, so I don't understand the same way as you. Explain more. Well, because our government.
I can hit that one.
Yeah, I'll let you follow it up. Our government doesn't have a good track record. Whether we're talking about, I mean, we can only go back as far as 9/11. When we're talking about weapons of mass destruction, and a whole lot, and dragging out the wars in the way that they did, we've been deceived time and time again by our government, going back to MK Ultra, going back to many other CIA and other classified projects that were at a detriment to unwitting Americans. And it's horrific to know that our government has treated us in the way, Vietnam, you name it. There is a myriad, a long list of problems with honesty from the government to the American people. Chris, feel free to follow up on that.
No, I mean, you hit it. I started to see this towards the end, not even towards the end, but the whole Iraq conflict, even Afghanistan and some of that stuff, you know, a lot of the things that, you know, my boys were dying for, our men were dying for, was built on a lie by people that were making a shit ton of money. Sorry for the cussing, but making a lot of money. And so it's frustrating. And then you talk about, you know, 9/11 incident, it's in and of itself, there's a lot of unanswered questions there. You have the JFK assassination and files being released. And so that wasn't we weren't being told the real story there. So there's just a lot of times where we're not being told the real stories. So that's the reason for the confusion and the distrust.
And the worst thing about 9/11, I think you both would agree, is they exploited our patriotism and they exploited our anger when they had all other agendas, and then used many other narratives for cover for action. When it came down to it, it was a lot of this was about making money and dragging out a war that we never had intentions of actually winning.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotion there.
Marcus.
This wound was horrific. Why do none of the security detail have blood on them? I don't think that's true. They all ran over and nobody has blood on them. I think I've got some pictures where I can prove you wrong there. I just don't think that's true. Do I pull it up, or do I tell you to go look and search?
Yeah, tell them to go look and search. I don't want to.
We got to get to other people, but I have seen videos with the security team when they're getting closer to the vehicle that they're putting them into, have blood on them. I will double check it, but I encourage you to go search that vehicle, that footage where they're loading them into the vehicle, and then zoom in.
And there's just not a lot of footage in that portion either. So good footage, period. Chris?
IMO shooters write on the shell casings these days because they know that the media will publish those writings and the media won't publish manifestos.
I agree. I agree.
They published the manifesto of that church shooter that wrote all the crazy stuff on his magazines and rifle, and he had that the target practice with Jesus, and they also posted his manifesto was written in like a different language. I forget. I don't want to mistake it. So, but they posted that. So that's, I mean, just a argument against that, I guess.
Yeah. Marcus, take that one.
Didn't they put a picture of the casings with a head stamp on TRN in one of the first press conferences, wrongly assumed to mean T-word engraving? Didn't they put a picture of the casings with? They did?
Yeah, so we had a head stamp. It was TRN. TRN is a ammunition manufacturer. That I did find, and I did try to look up their 30-06 offerings. TRN is Turin is a Turkish company that began producing ammunition in 2007 and uses TRN in its head stamp. I forgot where that led. That's something I have to look back up again. It's one of those things that I did try to find information on that. It was not clear, to say the least, but I'll double check that and try to remember what I forgot on that issue. Earth flat, moon hollow, FBI honest, Gary ugly, Trump black. Come on, man. Well, I'm just glad that Gary's not actually ugly. Come on, man. I don't miss the Biden days, I'll be honest with you. Chris, this is you.
Candace gave no receipts on anything today. I've seen every episode of hers, and she is just spreading discord. I don't disagree with what I've seen so far.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that she's selling her credibility down the river. I'm disappointed.
Thanks for clarifying that, Ellen. That's kind of been what I've been seeing as well. So I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. It's not looking good. Sent email. I'll take it. I'm not sure if I skipped you, Gary.
No,
sent email person on Sparks building. Have you seen it? Can you specify who you sent it to? I'm gonna assume Gary, but if you sent it to me or any of us, let me know which medium you used or what how you sent it to me.
That reminds me. Number one, folks, please go follow Chris and Marcus and all my socials. All our stuff is down in the description below. So go give us a follow. We'd appreciate it. Yeah. So we appreciate that. Follow us on Twitter and everything else. So yeah. Or something else. Folks, if you're going to send me videos, I would just request this. I definitely want you to send me videos and things like that. And if you're going to send me a video or any other information, send it to dlpodcast@ParamountTactical.com. Also, Marcus, your email is down in the description below, but you want them to send it, maybe not. You want them to send it to you on Twitter, right?
Yeah. Did you put my personal email in there?
I did. I put it on the bathroom walls, too. No, I don't think I did.
Whatever. Just
What I
Gmail.
will say,
I can make a new one.
If you guys are going to send us an email with footage links, like, number one, give me some context of what this footage is, and if it's like more than 3 minutes, make sure you give me some timestamps in there. I am literally going through thousands of emails, and I appreciate it, but I need a little help, y'all. Need a little help. Yeah. Everyone is still avoiding obvious CS building roof. Okay. I mean, we need some evidence that there was anybody there. We can look at all the roofs. There's lots of roofs that I don't say ignored, but we haven't addressed them. You're not handmade. Thank you very much. Chris, this is you.
Ever consider LT as the shooter, given how fake the leaked texts were? Isn't it logical that he could have faked TR text to himself? Same build, face structure, own same shoes as blurry step pics, dressed as TR. Tyler Robinson, I assume.
Yeah, and he's talking about his furry
Right.
transvestite boyfriend. Take that, Chris. What do you think?
I think based on what we have so far, no. I think there's enough information out there to think it was Tyler. But again, I'm not going to say it's not impossible. Could he have faked the leaked text? Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
I'll just tell you right now, when I look at those two, there's some significant differences in facial structure.
I agree with that.
You know, like I get it. Like, if you haven't been taught surveillance or done any sort of things like that, you may not, or done any special reconnaissance or any of the stuff, right? I think the well-trained eye can see significant differences.
I disagree.
Of course you would. That's it. You're gone. I'm removing you from the chat. Just take it.
Sayonara.
Don't ever disagree with me in public, Marcus.
I just want to be a pain in the ass.
That's all right. What's your thoughts on it, buddy?
I think this is, I would need to present my information and collect it. I have got the pictures and the screen grabs from back when, the police body cam footage where he was talking, and in that video to the screenshots of him in the stairwell, and even this image right here. It would just take me a second to share it.
Yeah, sure.
This isn't the best one, but maybe we can make some headway on it, and then we can come back to it. But this is, did they find somebody who just happens to look this close to him? But then I think it looks pretty freaking close.
No, so just so we're clear, what this person is asking is it considering that his boyfriend was the shooter and it wasn't him. He's saying that the boyfriend used to dresses up like him, and that the boyfriend is the real shooter and TR is not. That's what we're saying.
But you guys were saying it doesn't. The screen grabs and don't look like him. Is that?
No,
was I
I'm
misunderstanding that?
I'm saying that there's a very marked difference between Tyler and his boyfriend. They don't look similar to me.
We agree.
Look at that.
Miscommunication.
You got to learn. You got to learn to interpret the chats.
Gotcha.
If you think there are two shooters, you're an ASVAB waiver. Look, I get the resistance to the narrative, and I am resistant to the narrative as well. But I'm not resistant to. I'm not just going to be contrarian to the facts and the evidence that's presented in front of me. Marcus,
Frangible ammo would leave no ballistic, nor would it pass through. That's just not true. I mean, frangible ammo is just more likely and prone to franging and fragmenting, but it's certainly going to leave trails all over the place in a different way. So that's just not true, James. But I appreciate your question, and I encourage you to check out Ballistics demonstrations of the differences between frangible and full metal jacket and things like that.
Yeah, and just so we're clear, folks, the problem with the idea that frangible wouldn't leave an exit wound is we're still only dealing with, a couple of inches of meat and then bone. Like, it takes time for that to fragment and to break apart. And I'm telling you right now, typically what we'd see in this type of event, even if it did break apart, we would still typically see a exit wound. I would expect to see an exit wound when we're talking about a 30-06 round, and we would still see fragments typically, even if some of it was stopped by the bone. But Chris, do you agree with that?
I agree.
Yeah. Frangible is not magical ammo. It still has physics to contend with. We still have, large pieces of metal flying at 25, 23, 2,200 feet per second. Thanks, Al. We appreciate that, bud. Chris.
Body armor theory is still only thing that makes sense. I don't disagree. I think it explains more than everything else, but I also agree with Marcus that based on certain things that people have come out and said, and based on pictures that we have and video that we have, I can't see enough to say 100%, but I do think it explains the ballistics the best.
Yeah. All right. We'll leave it at that.
Well said.
George, $20. Thank you very much. We appreciate you, George, and your support. Matt Kessler explains how a 30 cal round could stay inside the body. MLK was shot with a 30 cal round, and the jaw round never left his body. Yeah, we addressed that. Marcus?
Stu Peters put an excellent video out yesterday showing step by step what happened. Please share it here. Okay, Stu, I'll make it a note and I'll check it out. Thank you, the greater good. Always open to hearing a good perspective in a different light.
Chris, this is definitely your question.
Would internal decapitation lead to decorticate? I feel like I hit that a little bit earlier. Based on unilateral side and not, bilateral, not necessarily. Yes, plausible, but not necessarily.
Fair enough. What you guys are doing matters, and we all thank you. Keep bringing truth without predetermined goal. Thanks again, tip and hat. Thank you, buddy. We really appreciate that.
This is 100% decorticate posturing. It's textbook. As far as energy being contained internally, that's grasping at straws. Well, definitely.
I like how you read that with certain emphasis all throughout.
I was trying to I was like putting myself in the shoes of this person's conviction. I thought it would be more interesting. Because it's so definitive, and there's something respectable about people who speak with like such certainty about something they just don't know anything about. I just kind of like find it entertaining.
To be fair, we don't know that this person doesn't know anything about. It could be a doctor,
Okay.
Could be a math magician. I don't know.
BN25. I don't mean to be rude, but how can you say, as far as energy being contained internally, that's how is it grasping for straws to say that the energy was contained internally when I think all accounts show it was definitely contained internally?
BN25. You see how worked up you got, Marcus?
Well, I mean,
just case in point. I mean, Dr. Martin says one thing, agrees that it's decorticate. I don't think that it's absolutely decorticate. We could get another doctor in here. We could get, you name it. People are going to disagree. So I just don't like the idea of saying 100% definition because there is no such thing in my opinion.
I covered this the other night. I watched it, like right after it happened. I watched 3 different neurosurgeons, highly qualified, highly experienced, all come to 3 different conclusions, and specifically on decorticate posturing, amongst some other things. So you're absolutely right. Professionals, I don't care if you're talking about snipers, ballisticians, whatever. Like, professionals in the field are going to come to different conclusions. It's just the way that the world works. Wikipedia says, since Grok said, Wikipedia says that MLK Jr. shot in the jaw somehow tore his necktie off, might lend credence to the bullet to the neck, breaking the necklace. I agree with that. And this is something that we came out with long before. And I just, again, I didn't want to even, it was just too much to explain. But I do think that the massive acceleration of the necklace in the back, I think it broke the chain. I think it put it in motion and broke the chain. And we do have physics that back that up. Long equations. I would hate to even show it to you from my engineer nerds over in my chat. Chris.
Do you think the trial will be televised? Yeah, I think so. It's pretty high profile, so I think so.
I think there's not a chance in hell. But we'll see. I hope so. I would love that. I
saw somewhere today that it would be. I think the judge said that they were committed to doing that. Maybe it's just some parts of it, but
that'll be freaking awesome.
Yeah,
I love when I'm wrong. So Marcus, look that up while I'm looking at the next chat. See if it is indeed going to be.
Okay, I'm on it.
Did you notice the 3 outfits minimum? Beige pants before the corner, then the USA shirt and black pants on the stairs, on the roof. Outfit looks black. Why? I don't remember 3. I remember 2. I have to look that up. Either one of you got an answer on that?
Well, I know that there was the video from the house surveillance of him walking by. That happens twice. The first time he's in, shorts or something, and that's earlier in the day. And then later as he goes by with the limp and he's wearing what you see in the other images, which is the pants, the black shirt, and that sort of thing. I don't know that there was 3. I mean, I could be wrong.
No, so you're right. That is correct. And then later on, when they show him in either Wendy's or McDonald's, I don't remember which one it was, he is wearing completely different clothing. So that is fair, and I think that would be, I don't know. I mean, that's not. I mean, most criminals would immediately think about that. If you're a halfway intelligent person, you put any planning into this, which I think there's clearly planning involved here. I think there's a clear demonstration. I think there's pre-attack surveillance. I think there was, all of those things. So it makes sense to me. Yep. Did you see the new footage of the security right behind him reaching up and turning on the camera of his meta glasses right before the shot, then turns camera off when reaching down to help Charlie? I saw the accusation of this. I don't know that we've confirmed that those were indeed meta glasses or that he was turning stuff on and off. I just don't know. I'll have to look at some of that. Has either one of you guys seen any convincing or compelling footage? I know that I saw several videos with that as the title, essentially, and I saw mentions of that on X. I haven't looked at the veracity of that at all.
I haven't. I want to. I've heard that, and I want to confirm that shot. People are saying they turn on some meta glasses. I just kind of. I haven't seen the footage to confirm that. To me, it's just speculation right now.
I agree, Dr. Bo Hightower. Thank you very much, Marcus.
I want to know what was so important for security to remove off Charlie in such a hurry and do secret handoffs, then flee the scene. Well, they were in a hurry because he was bleeding out. What was so important?
So what they're talking about is the theory and the videos that have come out of up close of two of the guys appearing to be doing kind of a handshake handoff, which some people were saying was the detonator for the explosive on the mic, and some people are saying, potentially something else. But they're saying that there was a handoff there. I don't think that the video is definitive that a handoff occurred. But again, it's just another theory that's out there. So,
well, the other thing it could be that I've heard proposed that I think is logical, and sometimes I feel like when I watch something and then I get questions like this, like people have seen something that I haven't seen. It looks like they're handing off keys,
Yes.
which makes sense. Like they're trying to get him to the hospital as quickly as possible. They could also be handing off medical gear. All of these security guys probably have med gear in their pockets or under their belt line, whether that is tourniquets, whether it's hemostatic gauze, whether it's chest seals. I don't know. But also I think it's very plausible that they're handing off keys to get that car up and running. So when I watch that video, I see exactly what I would expect to see: trained folks jumping into action and trying to stop bleeding. And then what we don't see is what's going on behind the table. I don't know what else to say about that. Marcus.
This is awesome, guys. I'm a liberal, but I love the analytical way you guys are approaching this and keeping political bias out. This is more of the dialogue we need and used to have in America. I respect that a lot. Anybody who can hold contrary views or is open to hearing something from a perspective from somebody that they might generally agree with in a lot of ways, I respect that a lot, and I think we need more of that as well. I completely agree. So I appreciate you.
Any common ground that we can find, I'm all about.
At the end of the day, we are on I like to find common ground. We're on the same team. I mean, we all want to live healthy, prosperous lives as free as possible, and if that's the common ground, right? We all want that. So it's just about how do we achieve that, and it starts with respect first, having respect for each other. So I appreciate you saying that.
Not demonizing each other, which I've been guilty of on this channel, and I repent, and I mean that sincerely. Al Dobin, maybe he was shot through the mouth, hit the spine fragments, came out the neck, his lips closed when he was hit. I think there is nothing that I see. And you guys tell me if you disagree or agree. There's nothing I see that says he was hit in the mouth. You would be able to tell that. Again, what we see at the neck to me is just clearly not an exit wound. Doc, that's your area of expertise. What do you think?
I agree with what you just said. I don't think there's not anything there to say he was hit in the mouth.
I'm pretty much a doctor at this point. I think that's enough to qualify me. I think affirmation on 2 questions from a doc makes me a doctor. Thank you, Dr. Bo Hightower. Chris, take this one.
Look at the John Colin investigation. Okay.
I'll pass. Heidi Wolf, I emailed late Friday, captured photo of entrance wound, the smallest I've seen yet. May change your mind on 30-06. Let me know what you think. All right, Heidi, I will. I'm still going through photos, and I will definitely try to look at that. I'm assuming that you're saying that to me. Marcus.
Erica has stated he was not wearing armor, as well as pastor/friend that was giving CPR. The gym could have tried different ammo, but still labeled 30-06 rifle. Do you know what he means by the gym?
Ooh.
The gym could have tried. But as far as the first part of your question, the thing that was confusing is in the beginning, she was saying general statements like, I've requested that he wear body armor more. And I found that to be pretty legitimate. I mean, I don't know for sure, but that was the first thing that was coming out. And then later on, there were specifics about this specific event, I guess, he was not. And so, it has not been clear cut. But in generally, we kind of have some mixed opinions here, even just amongst the 3 of us, which I think is cool. We're that much more likely to be right, one of us, and I like that. So
there were definitely clear conflicting statements at the very beginning. And can someone correct me if I'm wrong? There was a statement that was said to be attributed to Erica. I don't think that we've ever seen her actually say that. I could be wrong on that. And again, if what I'm saying and kind of my theory is correct, I don't know that it would matter. But anyways, there have been clear conflicting statements from people close to his team and other things. So, I mean, take that as you will. Thank you very much, Nancy. Chris, this one's yours.
Has to be a second shooter, because why would a radicalized leftist do it? I can't tell if that's sarcasm question or a real question.
I think it's sarcasm.
I think so.
Yeah. I almost accidentally missed a question here. The amount of kinetic energy being contained to the neck nexting is the wildest thing I've ever heard. It simply denies physics. I don't know if it quite denies physics. It definitely challenges statistics and probability for sure. Oh, folks, I did want to say I got a couple of emails that said something to the effect of, I missed your super chat. As we go along, this thing's scrolling. I try my best to keep track of that. I do not want to miss any of your super chats. If I do, please forgive me. Shoot me an email with what I missed, and I will do my best to answer it or make it known on the next chat.
Can I say that as well? And if I miss a super chat from my channel coming in, then please message me on either IG and or X, and in the title just say, hey, I've sent the super chat, and so I can see that, because I have hundreds, but if I see that, I'll prioritize that and make sure that I answer you privately.
Don't jump on my wagon, Marcus. Jesus. No.
that was I super mean that. That's important.
I know you do. But
plus I'm learning from you. You're kind of like, I'm learning a lot from you. I'm like, you're catching me up to this live thing in high speed, so I appreciate that.
Take this one, Marcus, because I don't want to touch it.
Possibility of body armor sponsorship being pulled. I see what you're doing. Was aligned with a change of body armor with direct explosive built into it. Wow. Was aligned with the change of body armor with so that Shane, I mean,
you know what? Can I jump in here? What I will say is that
save me.
That's more probable than the explosive being on a microphone, for sure.
I will agree with that.
I think that's not probable either, but it's definitely like it would be so obvious with an explosive on the outside of the shirt that it's not funny.
If I was putting my conspiracy hat on and there had to be a second team involved, a professional hit, but they had to control variables, I definitely wouldn't have a second shooter. I would have a planted something like that was on him that I had a remote detonator for and that I could instantly control. I still don't think that was remotely plausible, but it's more plausible to me than a second shooter. So, just for whatever that's worth.
All right, love your show, bud. One thing I've never seen is a gun, a 1906 old gun with a stock like that one on it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I see it all the time. So we have a gun shop. We do a lot of gun stuff. People bring in their pappy's gun that they've put a modern chassis or modern stock. It happens all the time. It's very common. Older guns from World War II and everything else, where you still have a great barrel, a great action. Either the stock has been damaged. That's another thing. Like those old stocks, if it was an original wood stock, could have been broken, could have become rotten. It happens all the time. So there's nothing odd about that. Or they just want to update it, right? So that's very common. Chris, this one's you.
Frame Magnum skull's base hole is brainstem's only exit unless new one made. Force dump may explain Charlie's expansion post shot. Not a doc, just an ambulance driver, but sounds plausible. We talked about that already to some degree, but go ahead, Gary.
No, I was just going to say I didn't appreciate how you went up at the end of that sentence. Sounds
on the
plausible.
sounds plausible. Yeah. I think that was my tone change, agreeing that it's plausible.
Sounds plausible. Armor is a legit answer with a back movement assured. It bounce between top front deflection to neck off something hitting back. Vest eventually ended up in skin. Superman explanation. Nope. 160th in the house. Love you guys. First and foremost, love the 160th. View you guys a bunch. You guys are heroes in your own right. Anyways, you guys know I agree. I mean, especially like that back shot where you see, it looks to me like the outline of a panel on the back and some weird things that happen. You know, take it for what it is. Marcus.
Can a spotter be separate from the sniper in a sniper team during a mission? Technically, I mean,
100%.
Definitely can. It's not ideal, but there could be applications for it. So, yeah, I mean, the spotter is just there to be a second set of eyes and a second brain to double check things and have more situational awareness, have more of an overview to make better decisions, and two minds working together. So it's technically possible, yes.
Confirm or
It's
deny
possible,
hits.
but
Yeah.
in the context of actually sniping, the purpose of the spotter is also to call wind and do the math and all that sort of stuff.
You're giving up a lot.
Yeah, if you're not with the shooter, then you're not getting that information. But again, we're only talking about 140 yards. Why would we have a spotter to begin with? Unless, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even know what the implication there is. Cast lead bullet ? Logic says it wouldn't stay together after the muzzle. If it did, would have way more deformation and dump energy without exiting. Well, if it wouldn't stay together, first of all, cast lead bullets stay together. They do all the time. Would it have way more deformation and dump energy without exiting? I mean, it could. Could we have a solid core bullet potentially because it was hand loaded? And again, folks, once we start going down the hand loaded or altered ammunition, it becomes easier to explain. I mean, because you just have a host of different options. I mean, you can load subsonic rounds of 30-06, and now you're talking about muzzle velocities around 950 feet per second. You go down a trail that never ends, in my opinion, on that. And it could have happened. We don't know the expertise of Tyler or his grandfather or whatever else. He may have had some hand-loaded rounds that may explain everything. Like the moment that all three of us was like, oh, well, that was what happened. Okay, well, now it makes sense now because we were dealing with a round that, left the barrel at 1,500 feet per second and, was a 120 grain round that was, whether it's frangible, soft tip, like, okay, now we can start buying some things as to what happened ballistically. Chris.
Did my super chat get skipped? Should been 2 ago.
Let me see, Sisalvi. If it did, I apologize, Sisalvi. I'm not seeing it. I'm scrolling up. Definitely not 2 ago. It may have not went through, buddy. Yeah, I'm like 15 back, and I don't see your name on it. Hold on. Hold on.
Salvi.
Erica stated he was not wearing body armor as well as a pastor and friend giving CPR at the gym.
Yeah, we talked about that one.
Yeah. So that's the only other one I see. Sisavelli. All right. So hopefully I covered that. Marcus.
TMZ video shows Tyler, quotations, walking in the neighborhood at 11:49 a.m. and Charlie was shot at 12:21, 23-ish. Does that seem plausible? It's plausible. When I was doing my investigation at that time, when I made my prior videos, which you can check out, I was deep into that timing and mapping it out on Google Earth, and he knew exactly where he was going, and he was just like a 5-minute walk away from that point. So he basically had time to go to the bottom of the stairwell and just sit there, presumably listening to what's going on to the event, ensuring that Charlie got up and started speaking. So he kind of stayed hidden down at, in cover at the bottom of the stairwell. And then when Charlie got on, he started talking. Then he made his way up. He had like 10 minutes of time where he was just sitting at the first floor just waiting. So that he had a minimum of 10 minutes extra time where he was just doing nothing, just waiting for the right time to get to his position on the roof. So yes.
Chris, that's for you.
Chris, does the body not act the way Charlie's did when subjected to electricity, such as tasers? Oh man, that's a good one because I've seen different bodies and people being tased. Yeah, I mean, you got guys on each side, especially when they're doing training, that will hold, the cop or whoever is being tased, and they kind of do freeze up like that. The legs don't function; they're basically into extension, arms curl up. So yeah, it's kind of decorticate. But you're talking about a different scenario where you're introducing electricity into the circuit, which changes things a little bit. So yes, I agree with what you're saying, that or at least some similar thing happens when you're talking about tasing and stuff like that.
Al Dolbin, we covered this earlier. I think maybe this was a double one. Do you think he will get off given the information we've gotten? Plausible deniability, trying him under state makes huge difference. Thank you. No, I think we have no idea the voluminous amount of evidence they likely have against him. And if you're a conspiracy theorist and you think the government and this is a patsy, then the other conclusion would be they're going to railroad this guy. I think there's a ton of evidence just about what we know about. If we say it's true that there's DNA on him, DNA on the gun, on the trigger, just with the information, the video evidence that we have, we can only assume that there's going to be a lot more evidence that does more clearly show his face, that does show him getting into position and shooting. And God only knows what they're finding out from, exploitation of his electronic devices. And then we have pretty much, whether you think it's convenient or not, basically a confession on the text messages. And then we have no idea what his statements are, what he's confessed to and what he hasn't. So no, I don't think they're going to have trouble trying him at all. Marcus.
Thank you, America. We don't have arms here, but you guys and your knowledge is exceptional. Thank you for your service. FBI defo lying military op ? Rip Charlie. Yep, there's lies. We're trying to find them, guys. That's my goal. I want to know what's lie, what's truth, and discerning that for ourselves. And talking with smart gentlemen like this is pretty much a blessing for me. And so I'm glad you guys also find the value. Thanks for that.
Chris, I'll let you hit this.
The guy who did live stream about the tent said, "I don't know if it was the shots or the fireworks. Firing a 30-06 can register up to 170 decimals." Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with the decimal ranges and things like that, and I don't disagree with whatever that individual said, that it was their perception. But what I heard is, in my opinion, not consistent with fireworks.
Again, I have a friend that lost his wife. He was also a Green Beret, was a team sergeant in my company. Lost his wife during the Las Vegas shooting. I asked him what happened, and he was like, we first heard the rounds going off, and again, it was a larger distance. But, he's a combat veteran, had many more tours than me, and he thought, just given the context, because that's another thing too. It's like you're at this festival, so it wouldn't be uncommon to hear fireworks. So I think that can definitely be, explained to that. The other thing, I'm just looking up the decibels for fireworks. Decibel for fireworks can be between 150 and 165 decibels. So, I mean, I think that kind of covers that overlap. Marcus?
Guys, this is JFK 2.0, except in real time. At some point, you have to start going down some rabbit holes within reason. That's what we're trying to do. Some signs point to ritual. Okay, interesting. I hate even saying that, but anything is possible. I think I know where you're going at, and the spiritual realm and the battle of good versus evil. That's a topic that I'm certainly willing to dive into. I want to be sensitive and discerning of how this audience and what people want to know is I think more based in evidence and facts that we can all rally behind. But I believe there's also a separate conversation that we can also have as far as the spiritual warfare that's going on, and I'm open to that in the future.
Can I say something on that real
Sure.
quick? because this comment has been mentioned a couple different times. And I'm somebody that did a lot of investigation into JFK because I never believed the original story from the beginning. Never believed it. But the differences are so different. So people are saying JFK 2.0, but then from the very beginning, you had people, eyewitnesses saying, no, there was a shot from the grassy knoll. You had issues with custody, with the medical team trying to get their word out and say, no, this is what actually happened inside of Parkland Hospital. There was so many discrepancies in the JFK situation that you're not seeing here. You're not seeing a bunch of eyewitnesses saying, no, it came from, that building over there. Everybody has been pretty consistent on where they think, or at least the majority say the shot came from. It's consistent with the other evidence we have. So far, we don't have discrepancies in the medical staff. We don't have whistleblowers trying to come out and being silenced like happened in JFK. So I don't think they're the same. And I don't want to say that, again, it's not a JFK thing, because I do think there's things that don't make sense about the Charlie Kirk shooting, but I don't think they're the same.
And we don't have anyone that was hit, that was injured, went to the hospital because of a ricochet, and we don't have any observed ricochets on overpass, and we have a lot more cameras on site to confirm or deny the event. So it is, I think, and we don't have the magic bullet just laying on a gurney. Basically an undamaged bullet that supposedly did everything that the JFK bullet does. So while it's tempting to compare those two, I agree with you, Chris. I think we're talking about something very different. Martinson lost me when he said he could calculate exact ballistics if he had seen a picture of the ammo, charge, bullet weight, and primer from a picture. If I had heard him say that, we would disagree wholeheartedly. Marcus?
Just an observation, but when was the last time there was an event like this and there was 24/7 news cameras in front of the suspect's or family's house?
It wasn't. They meant to say wasn't. There wasn't 24/7 news cameras in front of the suspect's or family's house.
Nice. Good catch.
Butler, for sure.
Yeah.
That didn't happen to Butler either. Yep. I think some of that can be attributed to, we have a super lazy freaking media. Like, they don't do investigative journalism anymore. Like, they take whatever narrative they're given and they report on those facts. We don't see journalists except on X, which I highly recommend. That there's several great journalists on X that are reputable, that are good, that are like old-fashioned journalists, freaking gumshoe tight out there, freaking, figuring stuff out. Like, we don't see that in the media. These are the elite people that aren't gonna, if it doesn't come from a computer screen, they're not gonna relay that to you on another computer screen, and they're just not out doing investigative journalism. Period. So I think that's part of the problem. And just like us three here have done more than most mainstream media outlets have done. Period. Chris?
Well said.
We hit this one already. Erica stating about not wearing.
We covered it. Chris?
Did importantly, he was shot in the chesty, ? You guys understand what he's saying? She, sorry, Linda.
Oh my gosh.
Importantly.
Misgendered her. Jesus.
Gary's the only one that could decipher this. The only man I know that could could decipher this. So he's our last hope.
Yeah,
he's also the one doing all the admin work.
I'm lost on that one.
Wow, you stupid Gary.
The greater good. Chris, take this one since we had that other.
If the shooting tests do not provide more clarity, where do you think you would focus next? Gary, that one's actually for you.
I'll let you know when I get there. I mean, that's all I can say. I have an agenda, not an agenda, but I have a testing protocol that I've kind of laid out that I hope will be objective, and I'm going to try to find out as much information and quite frankly, find out a bunch of different rounds to see if this is plausible with some less than typical rounds, but rounds that are readily available on the market. It ultimately might come down to that it's inconclusive because maybe he was using some hand loads that, defy our expectations. And, and I also want to see if I can replicate what happened with body armor and different types of body armor that are very concealable. Henry Ford wrote a book that was fulfilled. Thomas Massey getting attacked by who? 7 countries in 5 years: London, New York, now Jerusalem, Quebono. I don't know what the inference here is. Marcus.
Firstly, let me just, before I forget, basically my findings is some will be publicized, some will not. I have this clip today of the judge saying that he's kind of making a commitment to release the findings of the trial publicly, but I don't know if that means if it'll live be televised. So I just haven't been able to figure that out. But that's what I got for that, just so we don't miss that. And I keep my word. And then MW says, y'all think Tyler actually aimed for neck? I personally think he was aiming center mass. I think with how sloppy he was with his scope, with everything, the more I look at it, the more I don't think the more I look at the more I think he got lucky, and he would have just aimed center mass to have the best odds of hitting him. And due to probably his nerve shakiness, lack of a really good zero, sloppily putting the rifle together, whatever round he etched and scratched on, plus the angle led to him hitting high. That's my guess.
And there's no way for us to know for sure. I mean, maybe 140 yards, guys, is a headshot all day long. That would be super easy. Maybe he was overconfident and was going for a headshot and he missed low. I mean, there's no way for us to really know.
Yeah, I'm just speculating. That's my guess.
I'll just cut. Salute Gary M. See Ballistic vids were nice. Thank you very much. Chris?
Sent you a video on X of shooter, runner, and same frame in reflection on roof of Soren building. Guard seems to signal go. It was and then that was the handle. So he sent you a video on X of the shooter running in the same frame in reflection on roof of Soren building. I think maybe Ryan might have posted earlier, and he was asking if you got this, talking about another shooter on the building. I think could be wrong.
I'll look for it. I'll check it out, Ryan, and I'll try to give you some feedback on it. Now that I have your handle, I'll check it out. Yeah, I'll check it out. We'll just leave it at that. Marcus.
What about accelerator rounders? They quit making them in the 90s. No ballistics. Accelerator rounders. Do you know what those are, Gary?
Yeah, so they're accelerator rounds, 30-06. They're like a flechette type round. I am trying to get some of those. I have a friend of mine that we shared a text that I think he has them. So that is definitely a high priority for me. We'll check them out, and hopefully we can add that to the test criteria. Chris.
I feel like we are at the point that we cannot continue with our analysis until further information comes out or released. Great work so far. I agree with you. I think we're continuing to beat something, and we need a little bit more information to go a little bit further.
Yeah. The only thing I will say is that we are getting a trickle of new videos, which, again, also inspire these additional conspiracies, and I think all of those need a hard look and a sanity check. And speaking of sanity checks, we need a sanity break. Guys, who are your college football teams? Go Vols here in East Tennessee. Respect from Night Stalkers. 160th. Chris, what's your football team? You're in Texas.
I don't have a college football team.
Marcus?
Don't ask me, man. I got enough going on to worry about what guys are doing with balls, man.
I will tell you guys, I work 24/7. I have lost touch with sports, so I'm kind of in the same boat with these other guys. Look, I'm a little bit of I was originally born in the Detroit area, so I have some love for the Wolverines, U of M, and then I grew up in Texas, so there is a little bit. I like to hear when the University of Texas is doing well. My wife went to University of Georgia. She's a hardcore Bulldogs fan. She actually tracks football more than I do. Let's say it was shot with a 30 caliber. The entrance wound would have been around 7.62, round oval. How do you explain the stream gushes of blood that were thicker than 30 cal and irregular in their form? So First of all, it would actually be smaller than 7.62 because that's what usually entrance wounds do. They close up. That's what flesh does. We have a pretty robust body that is really good at closing off wounds. That being said, we do see something irregular. We've talked about this at length. With that being said, even if he was stabbed with a knife in that same spot, because it's so close to a high pressure vessels, both the jugular and or carotid, we would see a large amount of blood. So even if he was shot with a, 223, something like that, we would be, because of the proximity of those larger vessels, that's what we're going to see. Chris, again, I'm pretty much doctor at this point. You've agreed with me a couple times. I'm going to start claiming it.
Yeah. So, and even Gary Martin in his video, or Dr. Martin talks about this in his video a little bit too. But what has been said from the surgeon is that at least a fragment hit the heart. And if the heart was impacted, which slowed down or shut off some of the pumping mechanism, and then you have the jugular vein right there, which doesn't pump the way the carotid does, that jugular vein being severed like that would have dumped blood. So it makes sense to me.
Cool. Marcus.
The shooter on the roof, his shadow disappeared in the footage. This is a good one. Nullifying the Tyler idea. Well, I looked at that today. People really are really honing in on that point. But if you watch the video, to me what it looks like is that part of the roof is blown out completely. And what happens with video footage is when you reach, with a low fidelity camera that has a very low dynamic range capacity like a security camera would, in the highs, once you clip past a certain level of brightness, which if you look at that roof, it's all the same white, which means there's no information, there's no detail. It means that information is lost past that point. And when the way it kind of blips out is the way I've seen it in footage that I've shot. When you go into highlights, it just kind of, there's no fade. It just kind of abruptly just poofs away. It looks like the information is just gone. And so that's, in my opinion, what's happening is it's just a low fidelity camera. The highlights are blown out and the shadows disappearing because the information is just lost in that area.
Yeah, that's like, there's nothing weird about that in my opinion. Ask any photographer about that, and I think that you'll see that that's not unusual. Wyatt Darrell, I see your comment. We're going to keep it PG, and I'm going to skip it, bud. This is a good one. Do y'all think this kid actually did it with the evidence presented? Here's what I think, what I'm willing to say is that I don't see enough evidence where I could say definitively that he did it. I would say right now, all the evidence aligns with the fact that he did it. And so far, all the evidence, physical evidence that I've observed has completely dismantled some of these other theories. I mean, could we go down the path of, hey, that we have a similar shooter and a similar line, but I just like I've said in the past, I think what we have is a very narrow, angular field of possibilities when it comes to Charlie. In my opinion, clearly takes a shot from the front. Everything lines up with what we're seeing that is being said, and I would love to find something that said different. So far, I haven't seen that. What's your guys' take on that? Chris, what's your take on it?
I mean, I agree with what you just said with another caveat. Do I think it's possible that this kid did it? Absolutely. I think we've seen that even in the case of
I think it's likely.
Yeah. We've seen it in the case of this newest shooting, the ICE shooting. And so when you look at the demographics of kids that are pulling some of these things off, and even I think the church shooting and that, the demographics are males, 20 to 30 years old. They generally have some level of intelligence. And they're kind of in that in-between stage where they don't have full maturity in terms of brain. Brain doesn't fully mature until roughly 25. That's why our opinions about things sometimes change as we get older. But so, and then on top of that, confusion potentially. He's in these Discord chats and things like that. Do I think that he could have been, his ideology could have shifted? Well, at least according to some of the statements from the family, again, maybe that's changed now, that they said that his ideology had changed. And there was actually a friend of his that came out and wrote about it as well, where they tried to explain some of this. So yeah, definitely think it's possible.
Marcus, this one's yours.
Okay. You're brutal, sniping me. The young man that spoke with media was silenced. It proves that all video footage can't be trusted, 9/11 being digital planes. So I saw the video. If I think it's the one you're talking about, is the guy there's the student in the red shirt. He starts he starts talking,
TPUSA crew,
and then somebody comes and pulls him away. I found that suspicious, but my mind's not going to jump straight to conspiracy. I think there's lots of reasons why a certain group or community or club or would be told to kind of censor or if you're representing a group, you can't just say whatever you want sometimes. So I don't find that to be like a super alarming thing. It is a little suspicious, but then jumping from that to digital planes, I have to say, if you really want to get something out of me, I'll say that from what I've seen with 9/11, there's so much I still am, like, the book is open for me as far as what happened. I'm open to literally anything. I've seen videos that look digital. I've seen things that look real. And I think it could be like the moon landing thing where they made digital footage for the sake of media and propaganda and confusion, while also mixing it in with the truth, just to make sure we're extra confused all the time.
I'll say this.
That's my current stance, but I don't know that much to continue more than that.
I have really good friends that I know are on the up and up. Like, there's no question in my mind that watched those planes fly into the Twin Towers. So
there
you go.
I just would reject that. Now
I would reject it too, just based off of the statements from the firefighters and stuff that were on the ground. I mean, some of their radio calls are out there. So.
Then there's Building 7 that just casually went down a couple blocks away from an office fire.
That's
9/11 and other
crazy.
9/11 go awry for me. But I do think the planes at least hit the building. I don't think the planes brought the building down. That's a different topic, different discussion.
And passports of the hijackers landing somewhere else. Things get weird.
It's ridiculous.
All right. What do y'all think about the Venezuela, Mexico? Could this be GWAT 2.0? Things are getting crazy down there. I don't think we're going to be seeing U.S. troops down in Mexico and Venezuela, but we never know. I don't know what the next administration is going to do. I don't think this administration is likely to do that, in my opinion, currently. Chris?
The conspiracy is not in who or how the shot was made, but the depths of how far these shootings go. Yeah, there's a lot of layers. We've talked about that.
Yep.
Denial and deception.
You said the rifle was unique. What could that be? He said the rifle was unique. The rifle was unique in that it was a really old rifle. Apparently, to news reports, it was pre-World War I, but that in itself isn't like I've seen plenty of pre-World War I rifles or even older that are still in working condition, and people shoot them on a regular basis and all this other stuff. So,
did you hear anything about it being rechambered in a different round, like its original thing? I think that could be what he's talking about, but I don't know. I don't know that much. I just heard that.
Yeah, I heard the same thing. I believe the original Mauser was like 8. It doesn't necessarily mean that one was, but I do think the original Mauser was like an 8mm or something, an odd European chambering. There's nothing weird about, they may have rebarreled it 30-06 and then put a new stock on it. That's nothing's weird about that. Chris.
11/23/1963. The wink. T is Patsy. So saying Tyler's Patsy.
I don't know what the date reference is. I'll have to check that out. Marcus, take that one.
Sniper question: is it possible to have a head incapacitating shot without blowing up skull, no visible entrance wound, and blood? Well, it is possible to have a head incapacitating shot without blowing up. Yes, I've heard many friends who've seen that and done that, but no visible entrance wound and blood is where I would say that. I mean, there's got to be something visible. It depends on how far you are, right? Like with this grainy footage from 100 yards away, you might not be able to see anything, but visibly, technically, yes, there's going to be an entrance wound. That's just physics. So,
yeah,
that's my answer.
I can't think of that. I can't think of that English zombie movie right now, but it reminds me of that. He's like, "Is it true that there's a spot in the man's head that if you shoot it, his head will blow clean off?" Not making fun of you, Dimitri. Not making fun of you, Dimitri. I'm just making light of the situation. All right. In Snake Eyes, a politician named Charles Kirkland is unalive with the neck shot during a boxing match where Tyler, the executioner, is paid to throw the match. Night takes place at Trump Taj Mahal. So the parallels of that are weird. What I will say is I looked into this after the last initial, just kind of a surface level, right? Everybody was saying that was September 10th. The dates, there's some people are molding this narrative to fit better. The date was not September 10th. It was another date. I forgot what it was. But look, I don't have a good answer for you. I don't even know where do we go with that? I don't know.
Well,
Chris,
I think you go down the rabbit hole again with the conspiracy theories and the communication that, people have been saying this for a long time, that they are actually showing us what they intend to do with these movies and other things. So
I'm going to let you take this one.
Why is no one talking about our most advanced military surveillance aircraft being tasked to the event and beginning its descent minutes before? Okay,
are we referencing the plane that went off radar, and is that what this is talking about?
I don't know, but I have seen a video. There's a guy who slows down the audio and says that there is a helicopter that you can hear in the audio. Man, that audio slowed down so much. I think you can distort that to sound like anything. I agree that it does sound like rotor blades, if this is what he's talking about. But there's no video footage of it whatsoever. There's no eyewitnesses saying anything about a helicopter. So, I mean, I don't know if that's what we're talking about.
And I may have missed the first part of this. Do you have any information about the context of this military surveillance aircraft?
No, so I don't, at least from the video that I've seen where they were talking about a helo in the area that you can hear, the video doesn't specifically say anything about it being military surveillance or anything. They're just, at least to my knowledge, maybe there are in the comments or something or in the description. I don't know, but.
And the thing is, I mean, my experience is that there's parts all over the U.S. that are constantly being used as training environments, or military operations are going on, and certain aircrafts are flying over a certain AO, or they're practicing something, or they're doing some coordination exercise, or some coordination exercise with the FIA or air units in a certain area. So likely people are just seeing correlation between a military exercise or something in a certain AO that happens to overlap with this area, and then are blowing it out of proportion. That would be my first guess before I speculate further than that.
And the Utah area is a hotbed for that, by the way.
There you go.
What would it look like if there was a 5.56 in a Sabat? Anything like this? You would see almost no entry wound. I'll tell you that. I don't think what we're seeing is, and you would not see the energy transfer that we saw. It looks completely different. 5.56 altogether. All right, Chris.
Y'all are the best doing this case. It's not close.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marcus?
Wouldn't a subsonic round ruin the crack to bang timing? There would be no crack. So the thing is, you can definitely hear a crack. There's something going supersonic, and it's most likely obviously pointing to the 30-06 rifle that is alleged in Tyler. So yes, I guess that hope that answers your question.
Great live, Gary, Marcus, and Dr. 11 Bravo Army vet here. My opinion, Tyler's alleged sus, or it's a bigger plot with multi pieces. I'm not sold on the IED mic. Not sure what you mean by the IED mic. Number one, first and foremost, thank you for your service. And yeah, I mean, if there's maybe, like, we don't have any evidence of the other stuff, and I don't even want to speculate on that, but there's lots of elements of this that are weird. Maybe it won't be weird. Less weird, and maybe there's an explanation for some of the things at the end of this. I do find this case much less weird than Butler. I'll leave it at that.
That was bizarre.
Oh, sorry, missed one. Marcus.
Tyler was able to walk from his car to the shooting location without using Google Maps. This is proof that he's not a liberal. You got me, Thatcher.
I think it's funny. Proof that he did some prior reconnaissance.
I agree.
Funny. It got me, Thatcher. That was good. I think it's good that we can joke. Hopefully, I mean, it'd be interesting to have a liberal on here. I wonder if they'd be like stone cold serious from that. But I think that we generally, military types tend to draw crowds of people who are pretty desensitized to jokes. So hopefully it stays that way.
Chris, all you.
Thank you guys for doing everything you're all doing. Seeing you all laugh together, freaking priceless. Thank you.
Thanks for analysis and different perspectives. You are welcome. Boss, babe, mom. Good for you. Hope you're out there kicking ass and taking names. Marcus.
Undershirt stays tight, makes me go back to body armor. Well, it depends which frame you're talking about. I mean, a lot happens in a fraction, a quarter of a second. It gets loose, it gets tight. It's waving around. There's ripples, so it depends.
Howard Fox, thank you. Taylor Bales, thank you very much. We appreciate the support. Look at this. Shows possible shell case seen ricochet off tent on X Project Constitution video. Shows possible.
I would love to find a video that shows something like that, because that would be one of those things where maybe he was such a horrible shot and he got ridiculously lucky, but it could explain everything if it ricocheted. It's just so highly improbable. I need to see something that clearly shows it, where it's hitting on the tent, and then the astronaut.
I don't know that it explains it, because those tents are aluminum. It would punch right through that, and I don't think there would be hardly any deflection, and there wouldn't be enough time for deflection. Every time that somebody's told me they've seen a ricochet or this or that, I watch the videos they send me, and I will definitely look at this, Nancy, or try to. And I just don't see, like, I'll just leave it at that.
I guess you're right. Yeah, it depends, but it's so astronomical. I guess we're reaching now.
YouTube channel Gray Hughes Investigates is a good video on the timeline of TR's walk through the campus. Keep up the good work, fellas. Appreciate y'all's service. I agree. Gray Hughes does a really good job with that. We've had him on the show. And he does the best kind of analysis and putting timelines together that I've ever seen. And highly recommend his work. Go give him a follow. And
I like how detailed he is with timelines. I go to him for like sequential order of events. He's really good at that.
Tyler did it. There's too much proof. Fed. Chris, that's you.
I love you. You're Aikidoing it back. That's nice.
Chris.
Found it interesting that they had the exact size box for the gun found in the bushes. Then they have flashlights shining on it during the daytime. I'm going to push back a little bit. I don't think that they had flashlights shining on it during the daytime. I think that they were investigating the crime scene. They were doing forensics analysis. I did see a picture of FBI in searching around those trees. And so I think by the time they took a picture of it, it was nighttime at that point. Why they waited till nighttime to take a picture, I don't really know. And then I think the crime scene box, again, if we're assuming that they took the picture at night, someone probably went and got a box to box it.
Once the word is put, look, this is how it works, folks. The FBI finds a gun. All right, they're going to call the ATF, because the ATF is going to be able to take it, look at it, give a description of what it is, maybe pull some serial numbers and trace it. That's what the ATF does. So they're going to show up with a rifle box. We sell rifles for a living. This is what we do. Most of the boxes are the exact same. There's for some long guns that are greater than 30 inches, but pretty much whether it's an AR, whether it's a pistol this big or a rifle this big or this big, it's the same box. So a standard rifle is going to be under 50 or so inches unless it has an extra long barrel or there's something unique about it. There's many of these ELR guns that we sell that, do have 30 plus inch barrels. Those require a different box, but it's just a pretty standard box. Nothing weird about that in my opinion. How did the alleged shooter get on the roof? You can just access the roof willy-nilly. Ask any HVAC guy. You can't just access the roof willy-nilly. I would highly suggest you go look at whatever. So there's a walkway right up to that roof. You can access that roof willy-nilly, and that was shocking to me as well. But there's literally a walkway up to the roof. Well, it's a top floor viewing area, I guess, just a assembly area, and then you step over this half wall. There's plenty of video on it on X and everywhere else. You guys go check that out. You definitely can access that particular roof willy-nilly. It was shocking to me too. Marcus,
the guy who took the SIM card, or the SD card probably was what you mean, when the shot was fired, he didn't seem to flinch. However, he ran to the back on the rocks. So what appears recording when Charlie is taken to the USV, just odd behavior. Do any of you guys have confirmation that media guy is the one who went and got one of those shots of Charlie getting carried away? Do any of you guys happen to know that? I don't know that for sure.
I don't know.
There is a video. I know what he's talking about, where they followed him, and he goes and he's behind the wall and he's up on the rocks in the backside, and then he comes back around later and then gets the SD card. So there is a video of that happening, but I think you can explain that by saying in those moments, almost everyone except for the immediate security team, and if he's just a camera guy, he's not part of that, takes off running. And so the closest cover to him was a solid concrete wall. So him going behind the wall to get cover makes sense to me. And then they see him on the phone. Okay, well, he's, maybe he's dialing 911. Maybe he's dialing, the producer. I don't know. But I think it can be explained in a rational way.
I definitely think it can. And as a media guy who happened to carry lots of cameras around, I always had a camera with me in the military, and I don't want to guess what the intentions are of this guy. I just, from everything I've seen from his interviews and testimonials, he seems like a fair, honest person. Very open with Candace when she reached out to him, just kind of, on the spot said, yeah, whatever I can show you in the safest way possible. People who are typically hiding something don't act that way. But I'm basically, people resort to their habits and rituals and responsibilities, and he's a media guy, and his job is to put a camera on the action, as bad as it sounds. So it doesn't surprise me, guys, to be honest.
This incident with Charlie was so horrific and has caused much sadness and discord. I agree with that. I think a lot of us are just looking for answers and trying to make sense of it all. I find your streams very calming with professional and sensible analysis. Thanks for all the time you put in this. You're welcome. I'll just cover this. Candace is leftist and she's too emotional. I don't think she's a leftist. Maybe she is emotional. Look, I'm gonna to some extent I do want to give her a pass. She did know Charlie personally. I know how much this affected me, and I'm a dude, been to combat a couple times, and it affected me weirdly. It disturbed me at a level that I wasn't expected. And she knew him personally, has hung out with this guy a lot. Maybe she is coping in different ways. I don't know. I'm going to give her a little bit of pass, but I still expect her, if she's going to make claims, show up with some receipts. Chris.
Well said.
Explosive armor explains caliber confusion and body contortion, explains close friends saying he always wears armor and people stating he wasn't, being involved in cover-up. Why not organized hit?
Good luck, Chris. Glad you got this one.
I don't disagree with the so what someone else said about the armor and potentially being outfitted with an explosive and the explosion being contained inside a body armor. I don't disagree with that. I think that's a possibility. But again, I think, man, I think you would see more in the neck than that single shot that we see, that single distortion of the tissue.
Chris, let me ask you this. All right, you went to Buds. All right, you're an explosives guy. All SEALs are. Marcus, you were a breacher. Did either one of you, when you watched that, did you immediately think, "Hey, this is an explosion," or did you, which is very, very different, or did you think it was a ballistic event involving a gunshot?
I immediately thought it was a ballistic event.
Do you look at that and think there's any possibility that it looks like an explosion?
No.
No?
Nothing about that looks like an explosion.
I 100% agree. And the only people that are going to think that are people that aren't familiar with explosives. Nothing about that looks like an explosive. We would see something significantly different.
It also doesn't sound like an explosion. You got the traveling of the rifle with the crack and the boom. It doesn't sound anything like even a small explosion.
Agreed. Why no video of him setting up? Then the roof video of his exit plans to follow. Highly suspicious plus exit video appears to be doctored. I disagree with that last portion. There is video of him setting up. We just don't have it. They decided not to share it with the public for whatever reason. Maybe we'll find that out. Maybe we won't, but they're not going to share everything with us. That's just the way that these investigations work, especially on a death penalty case. Marcus.
Obviously, I'm assuming that's what he's saying. This would be answered when/if they show the prone footage. But could TR have used a smaller caliber weapon and had the rifle as a decoy? Well, I just, like, why would he do that? It's, if you can propose anything. You could say, what if he, had cereal that morning? It's like, why? Why does it matter that he changed rifles? It to me is if you're proposing certain ideas, it would be really nice to come with, like, because if you did this, then that would explain this, and this. So, and then the prone footage, I don't really know what you mean by that. Maybe like the person, the bystander who caught him laying down.
Yeah, that, and just when he's actually taking the shot, I think what they're saying.
Oh, my current speculation of why they didn't do that is the FBI just wanted to release absolutely what they felt was necessary to help catch this person to the public, and revealing the shot, they just didn't have to reveal that, and there's probably more complications with that, so they just didn't.
That's great. That's actually a great point that I hadn't thought of till just now. You just brought up. They released that footage prior to him being caught, and that's exactly like they released what they had that would show him a description. Like, if they showed the footage of him laying in the prone, you're not going to get, number one, it's really far away. It's a shitty camera. That's not going to help. Like, they gave us essentially the best footage they could with that camera, allegedly. But that's a great point. Which also, by the way, shows the direction he's running all the way over to the street, which is consistent with the woods where they found the rifle. So all that lines up, and I agree with you. That's a great point. They released what they needed to try to get enough information out there to try to catch the guy. See, Marcus, you're brilliant. In the doctor's video, I believe they showed where the rooftop video was edited a few spots to shadow our feet. We've talked about this already. Talk to any videographer. There's nothing weird about that footage. You're seeing blown out highlights. That's very common. Chris. How much is Gary getting paid to side with the story that is being fed to the public by the feds? There are so many things that don't add up. Gary.
I can feel the blood boiling.
No, there's no blood boiling. Diego, what I would say is refute what I'm saying with evidence. This is the equivalent of calling me a racist or a bigot when you don't have a logical argument to come at me with. This no longer bothers me. I will say that during the Butler stuff, I was shocked and amazed when people started leveling those types of accusations against me. I have a long history of content that goes back that I want the least amount of government in my business possible. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in personal liberty. you will find no one that is more anti-government and believes that the government is a root of a lot of evils in this country. And the smaller we get it, the better off that we are. And I'll leave it at that. This was an inside job covered up by our own country. Tyler was just a fall guy and didn't even take the shot. You guys really think 30-6 was used like FBI says? Not a chance, 100% BS story. There's nothing I can say to change your mind, Tanner. Marcus.
But why? Why did our government cover it up? I guess is where I go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we've extrapolate further.
Addressed that ad nauseum, I think. Marcus?
Ex-teammate at DynCorp was CIA. Thinks kid got lucky. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, easy shot. I don't know what he need to be lucky about. It's 140 yards. Still wondering kid in white starting at roof guy. Oh, all right.
I think staring at roof guy.
Yeah.
Still wondering kid in white staring at roof guy.
Nice.
Chris?
Did you hear the report that boyfriend texted two friends that Tyler did it as he was driving home that night and gave authorities their phones to verify?
I have.
I have heard that.
I haven't seen anything to back that up, but I don't doubt it. I think between Discord chat, I think his boyfriend at a minimum and probably other people at least knew about what was going on. There could be some other things. George Zim definitely piques my interest, and I wonder if there wasn't some other additional coordination and encouragement and or material aid involved. We could find that stuff out tomorrow. Marcus?
Did they find any reloading equipment at the house? ? I doubt he reloaded. Also, I think he was shot in the neck and exited his back caught by armor. Thanks for sharing your opinion. I don't know about any reloading. I haven't heard anything about that. That would be super useful information. So if you find something, please let me know.
I think apparently he got the shotgun. He got the rifle from his grandfather. If there was reloading equipment, it'd probably be at his grandfather's house. And we don't know that's definitely not information that they would share with us. Sorry if we already talked about this, but Candace Owens reported credible sources have contacted her stating that Tyler was never at the UVU campus. What we don't know is we don't have any other than an anonymous source, which is not by its nature credible. We don't know that, and so.
But wasn't in the early on? Wasn't there a video on Mom's social media of him getting and reading his scholarship letter?
There was.
I
don't know if that was at UVU though.
Yeah, I think it might have been. It might have been a different.
It could have been.
I don't think he attended UVU. I'm pretty sure he didn't. I think he just heard that Charlie Kirk was going to be there. Chris.
Sorry for talking smack in chat. Y'all answered all my questions. Thank y'all. Well, glad we answered your questions.
Respect.
We enjoy some friendly smack talking. Just don't be an a-hole. Based on my experience, if aiming center mass or for head, if his breathing was not controlled, could be wide neck, up, down breath. Absolutely. If you don't have breath control, you're going to have vertical deviations. There's no doubt about it. And he was probably breathing hard. Marcus.
Also, the rifle could have been planted by someone to make the FBI and cops think it was a 30-06. Again, anything could have happened. Could have, but why? What would that? If we extrapolate out from that, what does it give us? Does it give us any edge as far as our current theories and clarifying any explanations? That's what I would like to know.
Have you asked Turning Point directly for access to their close camera footage and or offered to analyze it? No, I haven't. Would you consider speaking to Candace? I would love to speak to Candace. I love Candace. I would tell her behind closed doors, Candace, girl, you're going a little crazy here. I need you to get back on the track so we can be friends. But I would love to talk to Candace. If she want to come on here and let me interview her, I'd love that. Deb Wagner, thank you very much. Chris.
Former CIA analyst Larry Johnson on Redacted said it could be 300 AAC blackout round, wouldn't go through him and blew up his heart, which made the blood come out the way that it did.
Hold on, I'm going to jump in here. Let me tell you something, guys. I know a lot of CIA analysts. I got lots of friends in that world. Been there, done that. This CIA analyst doesn't know shit about guns or ballistics or anything else. I'm just going to put that out there. Like, those are nerds behind a camera, behind a computer. Some of them, there might be one or two, just like if you work at an office, there might be one or two guys in the guns, but those are freaking nerds. Like, hopefully some of them are doing great work out there, but they are not gun folks. And an analyst, in my opinion, has whatever they say about ballistics and operational planning or any of that other stuff. As far as I'm concerned, my UPS guy, I take his word over a CIA analyst. Just put that out.
Oh, let him have it. Holy cow.
I mean, it's true. CIA is analyst. Oh, you're an analyst. Okay, nerd. Like,
UPS guy, though? Come on.
yeah. He probably actually hunts. A CIA analyst is walking around with a freaking pocket protector talking about whatever. Like, that has no, and I'll be honest with you, even some of the agents don't know the first thing about gun. They go in and qualify once a year. Like, just stop. That means nothing to me. Chris, I know you've worked with some guys overseas. Like, right? Am I wrong?
No. No.
You're not putting the CIA guy in a stack ready to go in a house. That's not happening.
No.
All right. Matt B thinks. Marcus. Oh, we already covered that one. Done. Marcus.
The TRN ammo thing was a rumor started on Twitter as, what if investigators mistook TRN markings as pro-trans messaging, which people took as fact? There's a lot of rumors that are way less credible than this one. So this was, at least someone put their name on there, some skin in the game. I think who was it? Was it Steve Crowder who knew an insider? Do you remember who it was, Gary?
I don't.
I forget. All I know is when somebody puts their reputation and their entire brand and legacy as a journalist on the line, saying that this was from a source that was leaked, rather than these other rumors that are just started by anonymous people, at least I give it some more weight. Could it? Who knows? At the end of the day, you could be right. Could just be a rumor. I'm open to being wrong about that, but I at least give it some more weight than some of the other rumors. I'll say that.
All right. I'm looking up on Grok to go through the parallels of Charlie Kirk and Snake Eyes.
That one is. I've only looked at it from a distance, and I'm like, do I buy this movie on YouTube and do I watch it? Like, how far do I want to go with this one?
I think it's worth. You know what? I'm going to check it out, and the reason I'm bringing this up because the next question was Snake Eyes, the 1998 movie, is a rabbit hole for sure. Most even missed the cop car with number 47 on top of it is shot in the neck. Charles Kirkland, September 10th, fight with Tyler.
The thing is, my kind of instinct is I'm going to be disappointed if I watch the movie, because why aren't any clips being clipped from the movie, and why am I not seeing that blasted anywhere? I haven't seen one scene from the movie clipped out overlaid with this script.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm just going through the parallels that Grok pulls up, and some of these things are fairly uncanny. There's some weird things. Let's do this. You and I, Chris, you're welcome to jump in. Let's do a no shit breakdown of it and see what parallels are actually there. I think it's worth checking out.
Copy that.
Guitar lessons. Thank you very much, sir. 365 song. Michael Stillman, thank you very much, sir. Jason Williams, I believe if I figured it out, I think the fragment from 3-Eye Atlas took him out. This reminds me, if you look at something long enough in the dark, it comes alive. LOL. Okay.
Oh, maybe he's being sarcastic.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Chris.
My theory, it could have been shooting old surplus cordite ammo loaded with lead round nose, explains low POI, shallow penetration, and hydrostatic effect.
Maybe.
Again, we don't know because we don't have more information on the ammo.
I hope we see the. Go ahead.
I hope we see the ballistics match the rifle they say he used. Me too. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to if the
projectile comes out and the type of ammo comes, I think that would answer some questions for me. And yeah. Regarding whether the neck wound is entry or exit wound, would a shot from behind that exits through the neck, would the wound look that neat or typically be more blown out? It'd definitely be, I've covered this in depth. We would definitely see outward projection of both. And Chris, I'm going to have you give your opinion on it, independent of mine. Typically, we're going to see a outward projection and deformation, and you're going to see initial, especially so close to those large arteries in the jugular vein, like you would immediately see spray and spatter come out of that along with additional biological material. We wouldn't see what we see. And Chris, as a Navy SEAL and doctor, what's your opinion?
I agree.
I'm telling you, I'm pretty much a doctor at this point.
You've gone to doctor school already.
Instead of my YouTube plaque that I'm going to shoot, but I haven't got around to shooting yet, instead of hanging it up, I'm going to put up a fake doctorate degree behind me.
Yep. Like that one right there.
Boom.
All it takes is a printer. All FBI evidence so far equals unproven claim. We don't know what they have. They haven't even presented any evidence. We literally, again, what they've presented isn't evidence trying to convince the public. What they've presented was enough evidence to possibly ID the shooter when he was at large. He no longer is. And I think that was a profound observation that Marcus made, I think has been lost in the sauce. Michael Stillman, thank you. Sean Collins, Marcus, get that one.
Thanks, gents. Missed your last few podcasts, Gary. I know this has been addressed, but your thoughts on small caliber shooter from Charlie's back right, exit wound from left carotid. This would align with Chris's comments about instant paralysis. Gary, do you want to answer that one?
There is zero evidence for a shooter off to his 4 o'clock. There is so much evidence against a shooter off to his 4 o'clock. We've covered it a couple of times already, probably before he actually asked that question. But Sean, we really appreciate the super chat.
Yeah.
The text message to the boyfriend seemed weird, but the messaging on the case seemed very legit with the narrative regarding the mindset of T. I think the text messages also kind of point to a weird mindset as well. And those furries, they're a little different and they talk differently. Chris?
Does rifle shot leave powder residue on shooter's hand like when you shoot a handgun, just throwing a wrench and works? 270 round and 30-06. So I guess they're asking, could it have been a 270 round and a 30-06?
So
and then
neck down to 270?
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have hit the target. It wouldn't have reached the lands and the grooves on the barrel, and therefore it wouldn't be stabilized. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do reloading, and I would never do that.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be effective. And a rifle, even a bolt gun, is going to leave a lot less powder residue because of it actually has a sealed action versus a reciprocating action on a semi-auto gun. So,
right.
They could definitely. There's enough powder residue but it has to be immediate. Like, guys, this person was. Like, they didn't catch him until the next day. He's taking a shower. He's washed his hands. 99% chance that almost any and all residue would be gone.
Well, not only that, plus also think, his heart rate is increased. Like, he's sweating too. So you got the sweat. You got, all the other components.
Marcus?
I'm the liberal here. Welcome. I now know more about ballistics than I'll ever need. Grateful for the education. Thank you all for your service and pursuing truth. Well, that's the value exchange. We each have our strengths and weaknesses, and that it's cool that you're willing to come and listen to us talk and kind of get an opposing view to maybe what you're used to. So it says a lot about you, Sally. Respect and thank you.
You are on. Look, this is a gateway. Once you learn about ballistics, next thing you know, you're going to the range. Next thing you know, you're got a Trump flag on the back of your F-350. This is how it works, Sally. You're coming over to our side, girl. You're coming. You don't even know it. You're already infected. What's crappening? How come Candace, you guys, so few others are the only ones willing to push back, the world deserves the truth. I agree. I mean, I just want to find the truth. I don't, whether we come into resistance or not, I think the truth is what's important.
Yeah.
Chris?
It's great to see different point of views and perspectives. I agree. I mean, yep.
I love TPU USA, but I'm pissed that they are not demanding more. I believe this is deep state, same deep state that's always been. They've done it so long, and they're making the FBI look foolish. So we don't know what the communication is between TPU USA and the FBI. I think that's a problem. Like, because you don't know it, we have this perception that's not happening. I bet there has been constant communication and people, agents coming over and getting more information, getting, I guarantee you they're doing electronic exploitation of all devices that were involved or could possibly be involved. So I think that's happening. I would assume that it is a solid assumption that that's taking place. We're just not aware of it. Thank you, Michael Stillman. Marcus, I skipped you. Sorry.
No worries. The scope was 2K. Seems like the Fed's pushing the narrative. If you read this, you're gay. Seems insensitive form from someone who was supposedly gay. I mean, I have gay friends. They joke that way. It didn't surprise me at all. The scope was 2K. He said that in the messages. So you're questioning the credibility of the messages, whether they were made up or not. I personally don't believe they would have made up those messages. It doesn't really make sense to me. It's probably legitimate from my speculation, and I hope that answers. You don't really asking a question, but I hope that gave you something what you're looking for.
We can't rule out Tyler too fast. Refresh the evidence provided on him. Keep in mind, people are trying to divert people away from the left's terrorism. I'll just read. Thank you for your voices of reason from Australia. You're welcome. That's awesome that you're watching from Australia. Chris, this one's yours.
There's a video of someone jumping over table, grabbing something, then handing it to someone else, and that guy runs into the tunnel. Thoughts? So we did talk about this a little bit earlier. I can't say conclusively that something was handed off, but we did talk about earlier potentially that they were handing off medical supplies because the security team likely had some form of trauma treatment or stop blood type kit. So maybe that's what they was handing off. Gary, you mentioned keys, and the reason running in the tunnels because that's where the vehicles are. So it makes sense to me that potentially they're handing off keys, and that guy was going to go start the vehicle and prep to get the hell out of there.
I agree. Joe Rogan claiming you need special Torx. Torx bits are pre-30-06. I have a 1903 and 2 flathead boots. Torx bits are post-war. And yeah, 2 flathead boots are all. Yeah, when I heard Joe Rogan's description of kind of that was like quintessential or stereotypical of some of the things I'm hearing online of just somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about. I almost made a reaction clip to it. Probably should have. He just started off with a bunch of incorrect assumptions and then obviously came to a bunch of really incorrect conclusions based on those assumptions. Marcus?
Would it be a great idea to use the lowest GR for the
Grain.
30-06 testing? Grain.
Yeah.
I mean, Gary, he's more of an expert on me on this. What do you think? I mean, he's gonna do testing on all sorts of grain, right?
Yeah, we're going to do some testing on all the above. I think what you ultimately need is a fairly medium-sized round, medium weight round with low recoil and less powder volume. I don't even know if it's possible because even some of the low recoil ones are still moving at quite the clip at like 150 grain. The problem when you get to those lower grain rounds, most of those are like varmint rounds and things like that, where they're now moving over 3,000 feet per second and they're pushing like a 90 or 100 grain or even 125 grain bullet. So typically what I found on the 30-06 is the lower you go in weight, the velocity is going way up. So I don't know. Boy in the red shirt with media that's silence. He mentioned 5,000 others. Our event doesn't want play witness. Video means videos ain't evidence. That's not what that means. Chris?
Gary, thank you for insight into this case. I've learned a lot. Well, thank you,
I
Jason.
just wanted to make you read that, Chris.
Yeah. Just so I can say thank you.
A lot of civilians think all CIA are field agents, just like they think everyone in the Army is infantry. UPS driver over an analyst, though, damn. Yeah, that was pretty ruthless, but clearly, all of our experiences vary, but I understand where he's coming from.
What about Erica and Tyler in the movie? Same as Snake Eyes, but like I said, I do want to kind of explore that a little bit. Chris?
As a CIA analyst, UPS driver, and Snake Eyes actor, the theory is possible. Pick one.
Marcus?
Really, why would the government cover it up? You could easily argue it helps advance an agenda being set. Could be a political sacrifice. Nobody believes FBI. Who benefits divided, we fall. Who has turned up the heat at every way. How can I answer that? I mean, why would they cover it up? There's so many. I
would
think
say that's a statement. I don't even know that you.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he just wanted me to read what you have to say.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot to unpack that all the way.
Okay, I hope you're happy, Jeffrey.
Clavicle or armor deflect, soft jacket in the neck, clearly something visuals in that area. I don't think anything can be explained by it hitting the clavicle and deflecting. It would have to be something a little bit more ballistically resistant. Doc, do you think there's any possibility that we see what we see based on a deflection from a collarbone?
No.
All right. Chris?
Does it seem odd that the FBI said bullet 2 fragmented to match to the gun, especially with bullet size? Did the FBI come out and say that?
I haven't heard
the
that.
Bullet has been too fragmented to identify and match to the gun?
I heard it somewhere. I just don't know if it came officially from the FBI. So it's worth looking into.
So many of these internet rumors get turned into news reports when we know it's not true. Just like apparently there was a autopsy report done. I did see there is an autopsy being done. It wasn't done at the UVU medical facility or wherever they were, but an autopsy was being done, and that immediately got turned into there was no autopsy being done. So
yeah, great point.
These internet rumors through the game of telephone get turned into official statements, and it's just not true. Eczema Free Ashley, thank you very much. While you're looking that up, I'm going to go through. I'm going to hit 10, 15 comments, and then we're going to call it a night, folks. Most of these are just. I'm a Pat Buchanan guy. The world called him an anti-Semitic, even his own party and globalism. Neocons, pro-Israel are about as dogmatic as free traders. Okay. If Robinson was a patsy, then explain why Patel would bother embarrassing himself and announce that the guy early on and have to admit later they didn't. A bit unnecessary or if fake. Sure. I agree with that statement. Ann says, please hit the like button and subscribe. All those things. We appreciate that. Make sure you like, subscribe, all those things. That helps us out and helps grow the channel. We'd love if you share this content, if you're getting value out of it. Help us, help you, and just, help us, do all those things. Has close range 17 cal been discussed at mock speed? No, it hasn't been discussed, at least on this ship. I don't think it's ever come up. 17, a fast moving round, we would not see what we see there. We would see a much smaller entry wound, and we would see a different ballistic profile altogether. And what it doesn't explain is the amount of just energy transferred, just like 5.56, whether it's green tip or ball ammo. Man, this stuff is moving so fast. It's such a small cross section that typically it just goes right through everything really quick. I don't think there's anything to indicate really a smaller caliber round at all. It's nothing. I mean, I can't completely rule out some other ones, but don't see 30 cal. I mean, maybe you could throw in there maybe 6.5 Creed or a 6mm, but 17 or anything like that, I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, and you got to think too, going back to what you said, 5.56 armor piercing and different things like that. The faster that bullet moves through, on a smaller round, you have less of that expansion. Number one, you have less time to get some of the tissue changes and things like that. And overseas, we stopped using some of the armor piercing rounds in guys because we were having, to shoot guys multiple times in order to get them to fall because it wasn't causing the internal damage.
Yeah, none of that. Most of the energy was just zipping through them, and then most of that energy was being dispersed outside the body. Right, it would just keep going and going and going. Whereas just like what Chris is saying, we switched from green tip to 77 grain when we were going on targets for that, just because of the difference in ballistics. So and then there was some different rounds that we also had applications for as well. So very similar to frangible that were extremely effective. Is there a difference between a remote air pellet in the shirt and explosive in the shirt? Yeah, there's a difference. I don't think anything that we see there would be explained by what your suggestion, Ashley. Marcus?
So the findings is from that last question is the FBI seems to be showing a lot of restraint as far as what they've released, as far as anything other than just trying to initially help them identify the shooter. So they've released the fact that there was DNA on the screwdriver and towel that they found, and but anything that goes beyond just identifying him as the shooter at that time, as far as the ballistics, forensics, all that appears to be very held within the.
I already forgot what we were looking up. What was the statement originally?
It was the statement was, did the FBI release a statement saying that the bullet was too fragmented to match to the gun? And the FBI hasn't, from my research just right now, really hasn't released anything other than just things that help them and the public together us find the shooter. Anything other than that, they're just being really restrained about releasing. So I'm sure we'll get that eventually. Patel has said that they are investigating all those things. We just haven't seen those reports. So that's my current answer to that. And then for Gordo here, so there was an empty shell in the gun, but you have to remove the bolt to disassemble, correct? No, that's not correct. So he put it back together and put an empty shell back in. He didn't, from all accounts and from, I think we're pretty unanimously agree that he didn't disassemble the rifle after shooting, immediately got up and hauled ass off the roof and into the forest. And the shell was just left in the chamber. It is technically possible to disassemble it without removing the bolt. Usually don't do that, but you can do it. So,
yeah. So I mean, this is again where these weird things. Again, Gordo, no offense to you, but like you're assuming that it's just common knowledge that you have to disassemble the bolt. You have to remove the bolt to disassemble, and that's not correct. We're removing the stock from the barreled action, and that's what has been proposed. There's been no proposition. I know this was early on that somebody's saying that, hey, and this wasn't from the FBI or any, this was just literally internet lore where people said, oh, he must have disassembled it before he got off the roof. That's not true. And now there are pictures that are clearly showing the gun. They're crappy pictures. And you only see it in a couple frames where it's clear to me that the gun is whole when he's getting off the roof. And you got to go look at Gray Hughes Investigates and his video of that. Well, folks, listen, I really appreciate everybody tuning in. We've kept Chris out too long. It's still like, I don't know, it's only like 4 p.m. or something like that in California, right, Marcus?
It's 8 p.m.
You
but
guys
it's
are
late
like,
there.
you guys are like 12 hours behind us over there in Fruitcake Land. But listen,
I'm
folks,
still at work.
Real quick, there's a few more of these super chats that have jumped in. All right, real quick, I'm going to hit these. I'm a UPS driver and know plenty about ballistics and firearms reload. Best comment of the night. Thanks. Hey, I was talking about you, Jason. Talking about you. What about 5.7, the speed and ability? No, I don't think we're seeing 5.7. Not all PP time is poo-poo time. All poo-poo time is pee-pee time. Cheers, boys. Double the TR footage. Doubt the TR footage. Why everyone walking, driving normal after jump off roof. Different day. Dairy Queen pick. We talked about this. No one pays attention anymore. Those people driving probably didn't even see him. Are y'all expanding dialogue on this case this week? If so, keep going. Your opinions and analysis are appreciated. The so-called text exchange, Tyler said it's unique. Yeah, it is unique in that it's an old rifle. Go Dogs. Wonderful if your wife and I were at the same times. Painful loss to Bama. I think she graduated in 2002 or 3, somewhere around there. Maybe 2004, 2003. Have you considered tandem projectiles? I have. I see no evidence of tandem projectiles. There's nothing that looks like he was shot twice. All right, folks, we're going to call it there. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Chris, we really appreciate you coming on. Marcus, I always
Nice to meet you, Chris.
thoroughly
Thanks, Marcus.
Enjoyed your
you on.
perspectives.
I'm trying to give you a compliment. Damn it, you keep talking over me. No, I appreciate both of your perspectives tonight, and Marcus, we always appreciate yours. And Chris, we'll definitely have to have you on again. I enjoyed this chat with you, folks. We appreciate everything. You guys don't go anywhere, but we appreciate you guys. We appreciate your support. Hopefully, we answered most of the questions that are out there. Go watch my video that I just dropped today at like 7:30 or something like that. I think you'll find some value in that. But anyways, we love you guys. We appreciate it. Like, subscribe, share our content. Go follow us all on Twitter. But until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.